Previously on You Can Beat Video Games. In part 1 of this guide, our hero Kylo watches his friend Willy pass away, then escapes the gladiatorial pits only to overhear the evil plan of villains Dark Lord and Julius. Kylo falls from a great height without a scratch, then meets Rey, a mysterious girl with a magical pendant and the ability to unlock the way to the Tree of Mana. After failing to rescue Rey from the Dark Lord's airship, Kylo falls again, but not before Rey entrusts him with her magical pendant. Many evil forces desire the pendant, and as we awaken in the town of Menos, we find that it has gone missing. Let's get started. Despite the fact that we fell out of an airship and crashed into a building, we seem very confident that it was Amanda that took the pendant. I mean, we're not wrong, but I wonder why Kylo seems so confident about it. Did he feel Amanda taking the pendant, or was it just the weird stuff that she said, and then she seemed to immediately leave in the morning when we started to get better? Yeah, I guess that is suspicious. The village of Menos, the Freshmaker, is a pretty small place, but it does have one important thing that we can buy at the store, the wind spear, so make sure to pick that up, and if you don't have enough money, try selling some stuff or maybe fighting some enemies around town, and then come back here and buy it. If we talk to some of the people in town, we hear about Amanda's little brother, a guy named Lester, who seems to be a musician in another city called Jadd. Whenever we first met Amanda back in the gladiatorial pits at the very beginning of the game, she did say that she wanted to see her brother, so it does seem like she was able to finally reunite with him. The item store has typical stuff. If you're short on Maddox or keys, now's a good time to pick some up, and it's also a good time to sell off some junk that you don't need from your inventory. Remember, you're limited to 16 items, so keep that in mind. If you have that nectar item though, keep that one around. We are going to be using it pretty soon. I do want to warn you about the Moogle item. It doesn't work. It should cure you from your Moogle status, but because you can't use items when you're a Moogle, it doesn't actually do anything. This woman has a clue about the Book of Ice. It's hidden somewhere in the desert. And this young girl is totally throwing shade. What's wrong with Amanda lately? Whoa, chill out, girl. And that's pretty much all that's going on here in the town of Menos. Whenever you're done, you can exit, and let's try to equip that new wind spear. Nice. A little bit of an upgrade to our attack. At this point, we can go to the city of Jadd that we heard everybody talking about. But if we take a little detour, we can get a new party member that's going to make our life a whole lot easier. It's time that we recruited a Chocobo. To get the Chocobo, you want to go down 2 screens from Menos, and then you'll go across a bridge and then come back up until you get to this area here, where you'll see this lake, and you want to pass between these plants, but avoid those posts on the right side. They're more of a distraction than anything. We want to come over here, and you'll notice that our new wind spear doesn't work on a cloud, which makes a lot of sense. A cloud is sort of like a wind type enemy, so the wind spear is not going to be very good there. There's some werewolves here. If you need to level up, you can fight those werewolves a bit, but we're not going to. Instead, we're going to follow this river and make our way over here to the right. We are going to need to use our chain flail here, so equip that. And we're going to whip the post on the right side and then just go over to the egg, and we will watch it hatch. The egg looks a lot like the kind that Yoshi comes out of, so I guess that's just further evidence that dinosaurs evolved into birds. This Chocobo thinks that we're its mother. Hey, don't follow me. No, we definitely want this bird to follow us. Yeah, So whenever we leave the screen, the Chocobo is just going to come with us no matter what, so you don't have to worry about getting it across the water. And whenever we ask, we suddenly become the Chocobo, which is amazing because not only do we move faster, but enemies just don't damage us whenever we're in this form. Pretty excellent. This is going to make getting around a whole lot easier. If you do need to do something like whip a post or chop down a tree with your axe, you'll have to dismount from the Chocobo, and to do that, you're just going to press the start button to bring up the menu and choose the ask command again. That'll make everything go back to normal. If you enter a town or a dungeon, whenever you come out, you have to sort of talk to the Chocobo, and it will ask you, take your Chocobo with you? And you have to choose yes. If you don't do that, whenever you leave the screen, you'll leave the Chocobo on that screen and you'll need to come back to that one to get him back. Over here, we find a magic shop, and you can buy some nice ethers or X-ethers here if you want to use those. If you want to experiment with some of those magic items, feel free to buy them, but remember, item space is at a premium. And whenever you get done there, we're going to ask the Chocobo again so that we can avoid fighting the enemies. Now, this enemy in particular is an interesting one. Sometimes these guys will drop a treasure chest and inside there will be an item called a Fang. Fang is an item that doesn't really do anything. Normally you would just sell it for a small amount of gold, but you could cash it in for a clue in the next city. If you come up this way, you can't get past this area, and not only can you not get past, whenever you come out, you get poisoned. Now, if you get poisoned, you don't have to worry about it if you have the Chocobo. As soon as you ask the Chocobo, you don't have to deal with the poison anymore. And you'll see whenever we dismount the Chocobo that the poison has gone away. And this is the city of Jadd. The city of Jadd is under the rule of a fascist dictator called the Davias, and he has outlawed all music in this town except for in his own mansion. It's very, very quiet in here. And yeah, I'm not really feeling the silence, so I'm going to add a little bit of music here, but if you're playing this on the Game Boy, you will be dealing with that silence. Okay, that's better. The best thing about the Silent City is the gold equipment. You see, I love gold. Now there's 3 items to buy here. The gold shield and the gold helmet are the 2 most important. If you don't have enough money for the gold armor, we are going to be able to find a free set of gold armor in the next dungeon. But if you have the cash for all 3, definitely buy them all. The gold helmet is plus 14 defense, and you'll notice that finally we found a helmet that gives us more than the plus 11 that our glitched out bronze helm has been providing for the entire game. The gold shield, well, the gold shield is going to be useful whenever we fight the next boss. We'll be able to use it to block the snake projectiles that she shoots at us. So make sure that you get those 2, because there's not going to be a free gold helmet or a gold shield in the next dungeon. If we explore the rest of the town, we'll run into this kid. This is the kid that wants us to give him a bag of Fang. And unfortunately, we didn't find one from the gecko enemies, but if we did have a bag of Fang and we gave it to that kid, he would just tell us that we need to walk in a figure 8 around the palm trees at the oasis. So that's the clue that we're looking for. There's nothing remarkable at the item shop. And up here we can talk to this old man. He tells us that the northern valley is filled with fatal poison gas. Yeah, we kind of figured that out already. We really need to get past that poison gas. And if we come down here, is this Watts? It seems to be just some other dwarf. But he tells us that the Davias has the power to turn people into animals. So that's a little bit concerning. We definitely don't want to run afoul of that guy. Now this kid tells us where that Davias guy lives. He lives in the large mansion in the upper left corner of the city. And this girl tells us that the poison gas appeared when the harp music stopped. So I guess because this Davias guy is trying to do some kind of footloose thing here in the city of Jadd, that caused poison gas to appear. So we really need to take this guy down a peg. Whenever we stop by to visit this guy, he looks a lot like Dark Lord. He also tells us that Amanda went to some place called the Cave of Medusa, and then there's this obnoxious parrot over here. But that's all that's really going on in the Davias' mansion. You don't really have to come in here right now, that was totally optional. Alright, let's go back outside and get out of this place. We need to go to that cave, and to get there, we need to find that oasis that the kid was talking about. Before we leave, there is one more guy that we can talk to, and this guy tells us that to uncurse, we need a teardrop from the Medusa. So maybe that's why Amanda went there. I almost thought that Davias guy was lying to us. If you need to use the inn, make sure to use the inn before you leave. And whenever we get outside, we want to talk to our Chocobo, and then we'll be able to ask it so that we can ride it out in the desert. With our Chocobo, it'll be very easy to get to that cave, so we're going to head over here, go down, down again, then we're going to go left, down, and right. That will bring us to the oasis. Once we get here, we're going to ask the Chocobo so that we can dismount, and then we're going to walk in a figure 8 pattern around those palm trees, and suddenly the cliffs in the background will explode, and that opens the way to Medusa's cave. Inside the cave, we run into Amanda. She apologizes to us for taking the pendant. It seems that she had to trade it to the Davias to get her brother back, but he altered the deal and transformed him into a parrot. Yeah, we kinda saw him back at the mansion. Well, Amanda joins forces with us, and the first thing we need to do is go down. In this room, we can try equipping our new wind spear, and if we hit this wall down at the bottom, well, it's one of those walls that we need to break with a mattock. I hope that you brought enough mattocks to get through this place. So head on down into here. The wind spear doesn't work on these mummy enemies. We'll need to switch over to the silver sword to be able to fight them. So the silver sword is pretty effective against these guys. Unless you want to use magic, you could always use magic if you wanted to use it against the mummy enemies. But we're building a character that's focused more on our melee ability, and we don't have a ton of MP to be wasting on offensive magic spells right now. In here, there's some more dangerous enemies. This shadow guy can deal you some serious damage points, and you can see we took quite a bit when we were hit there. So I recommend switching over to the wind spear to fight these guys. And we leveled up. We better take another level of stamina here. We just took a lot of damage from that last hit, and stamina will not only give us more hit points, but it'll also prevent some damage from the enemies because it sort of works like extra armor. If you're looking at the map, the first thing that we need to do here is get the ice magic. So you may notice that we can break this wall up here, but we don't want to go there just yet. We're going to need the ice magic to get through there. And we got turned to stone, but if you ask Amanda, her special ability is to remove stone, so it's a very specific ability, certainly not as good as some of the other extra abilities that we've had access to, but it's better than nothing, especially when you are turned into stone. From this room with the rocks, we just need to go all the way up and then one room to the right to get the ice magic, but there's a few short diversions that we can go through first. If you want to use a key, over here through this door on the left side, you'll find a recovery spring, which will heal your HP and MP. It's probably a good time to save the game after using that recovery spring. And from here, we're gonna go back into this room and continue going up. This next room has sort of like a backward C shape. Get past the enemies, and up here, if you go to the left, you'll be able to get a gold armor, but let's grab that ice magic first. Up here, there's some more of those skeletons and the slime enemies, and there's kind of a puzzle here. You need to hit both of those buttons, and to do it, you just want to walk towards them from below. And when you get on the second button at the bottom, you'll need to use your chain to get off of it. In this room, we'll find that magic book of ice. Very nice. And then we're just going to come back the way that we came. Head down here. We're going to head over to the left this time to grab that gold armor. We already have gold armor. We bought it at the store in the city of Jadd. But gold armor is worth a good bit of money to sell, so even if you already have a gold armor, it might be worth it to head over here and grab this free set of gold armor just so that we can sell it for money later. We had Amanda heal us from our stone condition again, and all we need to do is clear all of the enemies in this room and the treasure chest will appear, and there's that free gold armor. So if you were short on money when we went to Jadd, there's the gold armor that you were looking for. And if you already have gold armor, we'll be able to sell that later for a pretty penny. Okay, once you have the ice magic and the gold armor, we want to go back to the room with the two statues in it, and we're going to break through the wall there. If you're looking at the map, we're trying to make our way to letter A, and letter A is going to take us to a very short area, which will lead us to the boss. So that's what we're trying to do right now. So we're going back through this room, and here's the room with the two statues, so we need to use a matic here. So we'll put one of those on, and we'll just matic through the wall. And up here, okay, you see there's a snowman, and this is just giving us a little taste of what we need to do here. So we'll save the game just in case we use our ice magic and we don't open the door ahead. It does cause magic points. So here's the room that we need to use the ice magic. You can see that sometimes Amanda might accidentally kill the monster before you can turn it into a snowman. So if that happens, you could either reload the game or just exit the room and re-enter so that the monsters respawn. And that brings us up here. And we'll go through the door, and this will take us to letter B, and that's going to bring us to the boss. We can try to kill a few of these enemies, maybe we'll level up, maybe we'll be able to get an ether. An ether wouldn't be the worst thing to grab. And then we'll head down the stairs. And once we get down here, this is going to take us to the boss's chamber. And the boss, of course, is Medusa. Now, we need to get Medusa's tears, so I guess the plan is to beat her up and make her cry? Or are we gonna go in there and, like, insult Medusa? I don't think we really thought this one through too clearly. In any case, you want to put on your chain. The chain is going to give you the range that we need to fight Medusa. And we're going to try to stay at the bottom of the screen, and we'll aim upward at her. She never comes all the way down to the bottom, so that's going to help. We have the gold shield, so we should be able to block the snakes that she throws at us. So just stay down here and use that extra range that we get from the chain. You need to try to attack her right in the face. You don't want to hit the sides of Medusa. That's not going to count as a hit most of the time. And you'll see that we're not having a lot of problems with the snakes. We took a couple hits, but we do have that gold shield, so that's helping a lot. And we're able to stay down here at the bottom, so we're able to avoid running into Medusa herself. Touching Medusa herself can deal you a good bit of damage. The snakes, as you can see, they don't deal as much damage at all. And that's it. We've done it. We've defeated Medusa. Kind of interesting spelling of Medusa here. They usually spell it with an E. and we're not having a lot of luck getting the tears. We should have brought onions or something. Onions would have totally worked. Well, we can't find a drop of tear. Yeah, what are we going to do? Extract the tear ducts from her corpse? But before we leave, Amanda says, ouch. Yeah, now that we were unable to find a Medusa tear, it seems that Amanda just noticed that she was bitten by the Medusa. When did that happen? When did she have a chance to bite you? Now, I don't consider myself an expert in mythology, but I thought that Medusa would look you in the eye and turn you to stone. But in this game, it seems like she's also sort of a zombie, and if she bites you, you become infected and also turn into a Medusa. And we can see that Amanda is transforming right in front of our eyes. There's only one thing we can do. We're gonna have to execute her. And in fact, if you touch Amanda after she transforms, she'll do you damage, so don't get killed doing that. Quickly take her out, and then we'll get a new item, Amanda's Tears. And yet another NPC dies. Oof. Well, make sure to talk to your Chocobo, and then we'll ask him for a ride. We're gonna head back to Jadd, and we're gonna be able to use these Medusa tears to at least bring Amanda's brother back, and hopefully he'll be able to play his music, and we'll be able to clear up that gas and move on. Alright. Wait for me, Chocobo. Before we try to rescue Amanda's brother, let's stop over at the inn first. We took some damage in that previous battle, and we also need to restore our magic points. We're not going to be able to just get her brother back and walk out of here. No, we have a score to settle with this Davias guy, and we're going to have to fight through another dungeon to get to him. So let's jump into the mansion. Make your way inside, head across the carpet to the right, and we'll come to the room where the Davias' throne is, but you'll notice that he's not here. Now we need to free Amanda's brother, so we'll use the Amanda item and talk to this bird. Whenever we do that, he'll suddenly turn into a person. This is Lester. Lester's going to be our new companion, and he'll fight alongside us. If we ask Lester, his special ability is he changes the music, so that's not super exciting. But hey, we'll be happy just to have somebody fighting at our side. Not only do we need to fight the Davias to avenge Amanda, but he has Ray's pendant, and we need to get it back. So it's time. Once we have Lester on our side, there's going to be a stairway that appears in the lower right corner, so that's where we're going to go. And we can try his ability to change the music. There we go. The mansion is one of the bigger dungeons we've fought through yet, and there are several paths that you can take. Some of them are more difficult than others, so definitely follow the directions that I give you here in the video, and that will give you the best chance for success. We're just going to go straight over to the right here, and in the next room, we're going to have the option to break through the wall at the top of the screen, but we're just going to go down. We might as well take out some of these enemies, and we were rewarded with an X-Cure item, so that's not too bad. Try to take out this gargoyle, and he can give us a crystal item, which is not as exciting. That just fills up our will bar one time, and our will bar is starting to fill up pretty quickly. I don't recommend that you ever put points into will, and here we are at the level up screen again. And we're going to take stamina here. If you put points into will, that just makes the will bar fill more quickly. Now you'll also get a point of wisdom, and I think you also get a point of stamina when you put a point into will. But you don't really want to waste points on will because the bar's gonna start filling up fast enough on its own, and once it's completely full, it's not like it can fill up a second time. So I'm not gonna say that will is a useless stat. The will bar filling up will make you do more damage with every attack, but it's just not as important as the other 3 stats. So it's not one that you want to focus your points into unless you really want to do an experiment to see how fast you can make that bar fill up. From here, we're going to head to the left. We'll put on our wind spear. That will give us a better chance against those dangerous shadow enemies, and this one put us in the dark, but we can still see the enemies as well as everything in the room, so yeah, I think we'll be fine. We'll need to use a key here, so switch one of those on. Still have a decent amount of keys. We may need to pick up a few more later, but I think we'll be fine for now. There's a few black wizards in here. This one dropped us a blizzard, which is just an item that we know that casts the ice magic. And now that we can already cast ice magic, the blizzard item, not so useful. Of course, if we did run out of magic points and we needed to solve an ice magic related puzzle, it might be nice to have a blizzard in our inventory, but it would be better to just have an ether item so that we could restore our magic points. Don't go through the wall here, that'll just take you back to the beginning, and you don't want to do that. Instead, you want to go all the way to the top here, avoid that stairway, and then head all the way across to the left where you'll find a puzzle room. Watch out for the eye spies in here. They can turn you to stone or into a Moogle. And we will equip our silver sword. Unlike his late sister, Lester is unable to simply heal us from the stone condition, so if we get turned to stone, we'll have to take care of it with our own heal magic. And if you ever use the heal magic, something that you need to remember about it is you need to immediately press start afterwards, because heal magic makes you have 0 defense right after you use it. So I do want to remind everybody of that. It's pretty easy to work around it, but you don't want to forget. So we'll take out these eye spies with our silver sword and go over here to the left, and here is that puzzle room that we were looking for. If we can solve the puzzle in this room, a stairway will appear, and we'll be able to move on deeper into the dungeon. I think it's easier if we take out all the enemies first, but the solution to the puzzle is to start at the right side near where that fence is and walk on to that white tile, then walk up, across that white tile, down, and across to the right, and that will make a stairway appear. And that brings us into this area. Now this is where we could find a new weapon called the Were Axe. And there's conveniently a bunch of werewolf enemies here. The Were Axe is particularly good against werewolves, not that we were having problems with them before. The Were Axe is definitely optional, but it doesn't take a lot of extra effort to get it, so we might as well grab it. If you want to skip it, that's the wall that you'll need to break through there on the right to go towards the end of the dungeon. But for now, we're going to come down here, take out these black mages, try to kill this guy, and sometimes, yeah, this guy drops a blizzard item, so not too exciting, but it might be better than something we have, like a crystal. Yeah, we're not going to really need those crystals very much. And we may possibly need the blizzard. You never know. We'll probably end up throwing it away at some point. And right now, we do actually need to freeze an enemy to pass through this puzzle room. And we're down to our last magic point, so yeah, we might actually get some use out of that blizzard item. We can use it to freeze one of the enemies here, and then push it onto the switch. First we'll take out this flame so that there's only one enemy left, and okay, I guess we leveled up and we won't have to use the blizzard item, but it was going to come in handy. Maybe we should grab a level of wisdom here since we just ran out of magic points. Might be nice to have a few more MP. And we'll turn that gargoyle into a snowman, and then we'll carefully push it around this row of candles, over into the wall, and then down onto the switch, and that will open up the door, and this is the room where we can get the were-axe. We do need to clear all of these enemies first, and the best weapon for fighting these guys is going to be the wind spear. And you can see the full power of the wind spear on display. It allows you to throw one. And that's also what the were-axe does. When it's fully powered up, you'll throw an axe at the enemies. And the thrown weapons deal double damage. With the were-axe in our possession, there's only one thing left to do. Take down the Davias. So get past these black mages. You can see the were-axe in action here. Not great range, just like other axes, but a lot of power behind it. And this is the room where we need to go through the wall. These mice are very easy to kill now. So we need to use yet another Matic here. And that will take us into the next room. And from here, we're going to go down, and that's going to take us to letter E. And letter E is going to take us back to the previous map, and it's going to take us on a trip that will lead us to the Davias boss. So we're going to head up here. We need to use another key. So I wasn't kidding when I said you need a lot of keys in this game. And here's the stairway we've been looking for. This one takes us outside. The Davias is in the next room, and he's one of the most difficult bosses in the game. So make sure you go in there with full HP and MP, and right before you go in the room, save the game, and then use your nectar item if you have it. That's going to give us a lot more attack power. We're going to use the chain flail here because the chain flail has the best range. And what we want to do is as soon as we go in the room, look to see if the Davias starts out moving left or right. If he goes to the left, we can quickly go up into the right corner. If he goes to the right first, you want to wait a moment until he starts going to the left, then get up here into the upper right corner. And then you just want to face to the left and just start pummeling this guy with your chain flail. He'll throw some fireballs at you, but you'll actually be able to clear a lot of them with the chain flail. And you should be right in range to hit this guy up here in the corner. So that's the best way to fight this guy. And whenever he's defeated, he'll tell us that unfortunately the pendant is no longer here. And he calls us my dear. Did you learn that one from Julius? Well, the Davias is dead. And when we return to the city, it's time for Lester to start playing that funky music. I wish I understood why his harp tunes clear poison gas. That's just video game logic for you. But now that his Requiem is playing, we'll finally be able to move on. The area beyond the poison gas is a place called Mount Rocks, and that's where we need to go next. Mount Rocks will lead us back to Glaive Castle, and then it will be time to finally take on Dark Lord. Before we leave, we can stop over here at the inn to refresh our HP and MP, and then we'll be able to finally leave this area. See you later, City of Jadd. So we'll take our Chocobo with us, and then we'll ask him for a ride. And you remember where the poison gas was, right? So we're gonna head back that way, over here to the right. And then from here, we're gonna go up, and over to the right. Now, we couldn't get past this screen before, but we can now. And so we're just gonna Chocobo our way up through here, and we can ask to get off, and just use that were-axe to chop through the trees here. The battle axe would also chop through the trees, but you can see how effective the were-axe is against the werewolves. It kills them in a single hit. take that werewolf. If you do need to gain some levels, feel free to fight the werewolves. They're still pretty good for leveling up, but we don't need to do that right now, so we'll get back on our Chocobo. And when we head up here, we could go to the left, but if we come down this vine, there's a store at the bottom, so we'll check that out real quick. Inside, there's this guy, and he is the magic shop, so you've seen one of these before. If you want to buy any ethers or items that work as spells, feel free to pick some of those up. But we're going to want to save our money. There's going to be a store that we'll find later that will have some pretty expensive equipment that we are going to want to buy. And we tell the Chocobo to wait for us, but we're not going to be able to come back for him, at least not at the entrance of the cave to Mount Rocks. This is a pretty short dungeon, and you may notice it looks like we need to go through the wall on the left, but that's a red herring. We don't really want to go that way at all. Instead, we want to go up and then go across to the left. There's some black mages in here. Don't forget that we have the mute magic. If you want to try that out, it'll stop them from shooting fireballs at you. It only costs 1 MP, but it's probably better to just kill these guys and don't worry about muting them. But don't forget that you do have that move available to you. Once you get through here, in the next room, we're going to need to chop through some coral. And there's usually an annoying cloud enemy in here that you can't kill with the axe. So it's nice that we got lucky and he didn't spawn this time. Once we go into the next room on the left, that's where the boss is. So let's make sure that we're ready before we go in there. To kill this I Spy, we need to use the silver sword, but the weapon that we want to use against the boss is going to be the wind spear. So we'll want to put that on, and then use any items or magic that you want to use so that you're healed before you go in there. We'll use one of these X cures, and then we can make sure that we have our cure magic available. This boss isn't too difficult if you know what to do, but he can deal us some serious damage. As soon as you get in here, run over to the left. If you're quick, you can get in one hit when you cross the bridge, but this is the way that this boss works. Whenever it's at the top, it's going to go down to the bottom on the right side, and when it's at the bottom, it will go back to the top on the left side. So if you see it on the top, make sure that you get to the left before it starts moving down, and if you see it on the bottom, make sure you get over to the right before it starts moving up, and in between, try to take some shots at it from the bridge. You need to hit it right in the mouth, and you'll have better opportunities to hit it when it's at the top of the screen and not the bottom, because when it's at the bottom, you need to attack all the way through the crab's body to get to the mouth. While it's at the top, it's a lot easier to hit because the mouth is right in front of you. The wind spear gives you the range that you need to be able to hit the boss, and if you just focus on hitting it 1 or 2 times each time it goes to the top or the bottom, eventually you'll wear it down, and the boss will be defeated, and then we'll go into the second part of the dungeon, which is only 4 rooms long, so we just need to get all the way to the left, and we'll find the exit, which will bring us out into the greater Mount Rocks area. So we'll take out these ghosts, continue to head to the left, and here's some blast from the past enemies from the marsh area. And here's a few of those mummies. We'll need to use our silver sword or magic to take care of them. But this is the last room of the dungeon, so let's not mess it up here. Is that 1 or 2 mummies? I think it's just 1. Alright. And that's it. We did it. We've made it to Mount Rocks. Before we get to the next dungeon, we are going to be going past an armor store. And if you look underneath the map on the left side of the screen, you can see that there's going to be opal armor, an opal helmet, and an opal shield to buy. And we're going to need quite a bit of money to be able to buy all of that stuff. The opal shield is one that I'm not super sure what it does. I am going to buy it so you can witness for yourself what it does. I am going to try to get all of the different pieces of armor so that you can see how they all work. So I'll try to earn the money so that we can see that opal shield, but I was unable to tell how much better it was than the gold shield that we already had. So if you want to skip that one, I don't think it's too big of a deal. The opal armor and the opal helmet, though, are very good. The opal helmet in particular is extremely important. That's the second best helmet in the entire game, and we're going to be wearing that opal helmet all the way until the final dungeon. If you need keys or Maddox, you can grab them at that last minute item shop. Although, once we get through the next area, we won't have much use for Maddox anymore. We're poisoned right now, and normally that would be alarming, and we could just walk back and forth between two screens until the poison wears off, but we're actually very close to a recovery spring, so we'll go check that out since we just took some damage. The recovery spring is over to the right where you see that grass. So if you walk down in here and then you just walk up against the water, that will refill your health and your MP. And then we can save the game here. It's probably a good time to save. And then we'll go up on the right side. If you need to make money, the Axe Devils are the enemy in this area that drops the most money, and be very careful around those spring bots. They can turn you into a Moogle, and that will drop your defense to 0. Go back to that recovery spring, and then we'll continue along. This path will take us up into the mountains. Watch out for this mole. We'll clear him out of the way with our Were Axe. And there are 2 of those bouncing spring bots up here. We don't want to be turned into a Moogle. And oh, we leveled up. Nice. Okay. Might not be a bad time to take another level of power. We're getting quite strong. And over here, this is where that armor shop is. It's going to be up the vine on the right side. Oh, and that springbot dropped a ruby. That's timely. The ruby... Oh, another one? Well, we better drop something. These rubies are worth 100 gold pieces whenever we sell them. So maybe this one last X cure, we can just use that. We were low on HP anyways. And we can definitely use that cash. Take out this gorilla on the vine as well as the mole. And there it is. Try not to get killed on the way into the armor shop. To be able to afford some of these items, we may have to sell some stuff. The first thing that we're going to want to sell are any of these items like the rubies or gold, because they don't really do anything other than get sold for money. And we can also sell that extra gold armor that we have. That's going to be worth quite a bit, 650 gold pieces, very nice. And we were able to buy the opal armor. We're also going to want to get that opal helmet. So maybe if we sell our other gold armor that we have, we'll be able to afford it. But it doesn't look like we're going to have enough money here to be able to buy the opal shield. So we're going to have to go and fight enemies if we want that. The enemies that we're going to try to fight are the Axe Devils, and we'll just try to fight the enemies very close to this armor shop. As soon as we get through the next area, I'm going to be able to show you a trick that will give us a ton of money, and we won't have to worry about money anymore. But for now, if you want to see the opal shield, which I can't really tell exactly what it doesn't seem like it blocks a new type of projectile, but maybe it helps you push around a different type of enemy that we weren't able to push around before. So we're gonna get it, but to get it we are going to have to build up a bit of money, and maybe we'll gain some levels in the meantime, so it wouldn't be the worst thing to try to build yourself up around here. The fact that the opal shield is more expensive than the other 2 pieces of armor that you can buy here makes it seem like it's gotta be important. but from what I can tell, its importance is definitely questionable. Try to be careful as you're attacking the enemies, grab the items that you find. If you get turned into a Moogle, it's not too difficult in this area to just walk between two screens, sort of like what we would do if we were poisoned. And whenever you're fighting these axe devils, we do get a good bit of experience points from them as well as money, so we are likely to level up here, and we'll take another level of power. That will make killing these enemies go just a little bit faster. So we'll just wear axe through these guys, and eventually we will have enough money that we need, and 3715, we can sell something if we have to get the 3900 that we need, or we can just clear a few enemies on the way up, and we leveled up again. Nice. Let's do stamina here. Stamina 32, power 40, not bad stats. And we'll come up here and grab that Opal Shield. If you didn't feel like buying the Opal Shield, then you may have moved on already. But as soon as you're done here, we can equip it and then head back out. The way to get to the next dungeon is to climb up that vine over on the left. But just make sure that you have everything that you want from this store, because we're not going to be able to get back here very easily. So climb up this vine, watch out for the gorilla, and we're going to go all the way to the top. And up here, we're going to head to the left. We already have our wear axe equipped, and we're going to chop through the trees. Any axe will do just fine. But we need to chop through the trees over there on the left and just loop around back over here to the right, taking out any enemies in our way, and then we'll be able to head up here, and this will take us the way that we need to go. So once you get up here, if you head over to the left, that's a dead end, so you don't need to go that way. We're just going to head across here to the right and then down. A few more trees that we need to go through in this area, so we'll chop through the ones on the left side, and we'll follow this path that's going to take us down to the bottom. We have a full inventory. It's going to be X cures, so we'll just use some X cures before we pick them up. And once we get down here, we just need to head over to the right, and we're going to find a ladder that will take us to the next dungeon. The next dungeon will bring us inside Mount Rocks. In this dungeon, you'll notice if you go to the left or the right in this room, it takes you right back here to the beginning, and the same thing will happen if you go to the left in this room. So there are just certain paths in this dungeon where if you go the wrong way, you will be automatically taken all the way back to the beginning. So we need to be very careful of that. The boss of the dungeon is located through that door up there, but we need to fight another boss to get a weapon, the Morning Star, before we face that boss. To get the Morning Star, we want to come to this room, and we're going to use a Matic to break through the wall at the top of the screen. Once we get the Morning Star, we're not going to need Matics anymore, so if you're getting a little bit low on those, that could be okay. From here, we're going to head to the left. We'll equip our wear axe since it's a little bit more powerful than the silver sword, although you may need the silver sword on some enemies, but of course the wear axe is very good against the werewolves in this room. Kind of a weird puzzle in here. All you need to do is push one of the chests onto the switch and then hit it with your axe, and that will open the door. And in this room, do not go to the left, that will take you back to the beginning. Instead, we need to come through here on the right and go through this door over on the right side, but you'll need a key to get through there. We'll use this one where we only have one key left, so we've removed that item from our inventory. You'll need your axe to get through those corals, but watch out for the black mages on the other side. Once you get through here, you can use the Morning Star that we're about to get on rocks like the ones in that room, but we don't have it yet, so we're just going to head all the way to the bottom here. And when you get to this room, once again, do not go to the left. That will take you back to the beginning. Instead, go to the right, go over this bridge, and in the next room, there's going to be a stairway, and that stairway is going to take us to the first boss of this dungeon. But like I said before, there is another one that we'll fight later. The Cyclops is going to be in the next room, so we want to make sure that we have our Wear Axe equipped, as well as our Cure Magic, and you may want to save the game before you go in there. This boss will hang out on the right side of the screen, and he just goes between 3 positions at the top, middle, and bottom. Sometimes he'll slide out to the left, but sometimes he'll just stay on the right. Here's what you want to do. When he's in the top or the middle position, you can get below him and attack. Whenever he's in that bottom position, just get away from him. If he comes out to the left, you're going to get hit, and you don't want to get hit by this guy. So only try to attack him when he's in the middle and top positions, and attack him from below, because you can see his legs don't have a big morning star to attack you with, only his arms, so as long as you're below him, you're going to be pretty safe against this guy. So really not too tough to beat as long as you know what to do. Just avoid him when he's in the bottom position, and take advantage of him whenever he's in the middle or the top positions. So we're just going to wait here, and when he goes back to the middle, we'll be able to get below him again, and you can use the grass as a guideline. So that grass will tell you sort of where he's going to stop, and you can use that to line yourself up. And once he's defeated, we will finally get the Morning Star. The Morning Star that we just got is awesome. Not only does it deal a ton of damage with its plus 30 attack, but we can just throw our Maddox away because it also does all of the stuff that the Maddox did. So it can break through walls, it can break through rocks, it can break through jars, and we're going to need it to be able to fight the Golem boss. And to get there, we want to go back to the beginning of the dungeon. Oh, we leveled up, nice. So that should bring us to level 26, very powerful now. And you can see how good this Morning Star weapon is, very good. Before, we didn't want to go to the left in this room because it would take us right back to the beginning of the dungeon, but now that's a shortcut. So we'll head to the left here, and then we'll head up to this room. We need to use a key to get through up there, so we will equip a key. But the boss is going to be in that room, so you may want to save the game before you go in there, and you have to use the Morning Star on this guy. The golem moves slowly back and forth across the top of the screen, and occasionally he'll charge down to the bottom of the screen very quickly. To fight this guy, you want to attack him from the sides. That will help you avoid the charging attack. Now, occasionally you are going to have to walk in front of him. Whenever you do, you want to walk down to the middle of the room first. That way, if he charges at you as you pass in front of him, you'll have more space to get out of the way, and you'll be less likely to actually get hit by the boss. Whenever he's charging and you're to the side of him, you'll have a lot of good opportunities to attack. So take those opportunities when they come, and just be patient with this guy. Keep attacking from the sides with your Morning Star, and whenever you have to pass in front of him, just remember to take the long way around. Got hit there. If you do get damaged, you should have plenty of opportunities to cure yourself. He doesn't move very fast, so just get out of the way from the boss and use your cure if you need to. You want to try to keep your health up above 30, just in case you were to take 2 hits in a row, you don't want to die. After defeating the golem, we find the Magic Book of Lightning and learn the spell of Lit. Lit costs 2 magic points and allows us to shoot a lightning bolt which will go in a straight path. It's offense magic, so it's not one that we're going to be using too often, but some enemies are weak against it. And once we get across this bridge, well, some pretty shoddy craftsmanship there. Luckily, the bridge didn't break while we were on it, but we certainly can't go back anymore. From here we emerge from the waterfall, right next to the castle where it all began. It's time to finally get revenge against Dark Lord. We find the castle gates conspicuously open, and whenever we go inside, we don't want to go to the right, that would lead to a dead end, but if we equip our axe and chop through the pine trees on the left side, that's going to lead us to a door that will take us in through the castle sewers. So we'll grab this cure item, chop through a few trees, and make our way to the left. Watch out for these enemies. And oh no, rabbits. And here's that door we were looking for. That will bring us inside the castle. The enemies aren't very dangerous in here, so we just want to head across this bridge to the left, go up here, and head over to the right. When we get onto this screen, we want to cross this bridge and then continue across the lower path. This will be the shorter way that we need to go. And in here, we're going to cross that bridge again and head across the upper path, and then back across to the stairway. That brings us outside, and whenever we climb up this vine to the top of this tower, we're going to have to fight another boss, so we need to get prepared for that. Once we get on the outside, we're going to want to have our Morning Star equipped, and you'll probably want your Cure Magic as well. Save the game if you need to, because it's time to fight the Chimera. Attack this guy as he flies across the top of the screen. If you're between the fireballs, you'll be able to avoid them, but sometimes if you're attacking upward, your Morning Star will just clear the fireballs anyway. Whenever the boss swoops down at you, rapidly attack it. A lot of the time, if you're rapidly attacking the boss whenever it swoops at you, you won't even take damage as it passes through. Now, if you do take damage, you're going to want to cure yourself, try to keep your health high, and you shouldn't have too many problems defeating the Chimera. We'll cure up a little bit here, but it actually was unnecessary, because once we go down the stairs, we're reunited with Ray, and Ray will join our team again. So of course, we'll be able to ask her to refill our health. It's nice to have you back, Ray. With Ray back on the team, it's time to take on the rest of the castle. So we'll go through these stairways, and that will take us back out at the bottom of that tower. And if we go down this stairway, there's some enemies down here we can push out of the way. But there's actually an item shop down here at the bottom, so if you were running low on keys, this could be a good time to grab some, because you may need them a bit later. So stop in here. You can also buy other items, of course. There's X Cures and Pures and Eye Drops and Soft, the useless Moogle item if you just want to see it. But that's all there is at the item shop, and what we actually need to do here is go back up the stairs and make our way across to the left side, and we'll find another door that will bring us deeper inside the castle. Fight these enemies and head over here. There are a lot of enemies on this screen, so watch out for these night guys in particular. The Morning Star is very good at fighting them. They are worth a decent amount of experience points, so you may want to take the time to clear some of these enemies as you make your way across the top of the castle. It certainly couldn't hurt to gain a few levels. And as if on cue, we leveled up again. Let's get another level of power. And then we can also grab this treasure chest. We'll need to remove another item from our inventory. I'm just going to throw a cure away, because that's an X Ether, which is much better than a cure. And we return to stone, but we know what to do about that. We can use our heal magic and then make sure that we pause afterwards, just so that we don't have our defense reduced to 0. And we'll just clear through a few more of these knights. And that's the door that we need to enter to get deeper into the castle, so that's where we're headed. We can ask for a bit of curing first. Certainly couldn't hurt. and then we'll go deeper inside. Whenever you pass through those spikes, they're going to deal you some damage, so if you need to ask for healing afterwards, don't be afraid to do so. Normally I would think it's pretty annoying that they'd make you walk through some spikes, but I guess if your companion can heal you for free, it's kinda fair. So we're going to come up here and make our way to the right. In this room, oh no, it's a pumpkin. We're going to blow up this wall at the top of the screen. Don't touch those stars, those will deal you quite a bit of damage, like in the neighborhood of 100, so you certainly don't want to touch those things. Make your way over to this room. This is kind of a puzzle room, but you should know what to do here. We need to use our chain to whip those poles, and then we're just going to hit that switch on the left side, which will reveal a stairway. So we'll use our chain here, and that will bring us over to this side, and we're going to need the full power of the chain, so just wait for your willpower to fill up, and then we'll whip our way over there, take out that knight, and we need another full willpower bar, and that will bring us over to where the stairs are. If you're following the map, that stairway was letter D, and so we're going to head up and then over to the right. And in this room, we're going to head down, and we're just going to head down to the bottom here. So watch out for these enemies. Try to avoid that gargoyle. Don't touch the spikes as you weave your way around the ghosts. And when you get down here, if you go to the left, that will take you to stairway E. But if you head to the right, there's actually a bed that you can use, which will restore your health and your magic points. So we can go check that out. You're going to need to use a key to get in there, so it might not actually be worth it when all things are considered, because right now we have Ray on our side, so if we need to get our health refilled, we can do it without using our magic points. So unless you're using a lot of magic, you probably don't need to come in here and use the bed, but just in case you need a refill on your MP, well, here's a place where you can do it for free. After our nice little nap, we're going to head over back to the left, and we want to go all the way to the left where we're going to find the stairway labeled E, and that will take us to the next part of the dungeon. There is an optional weapon that we'll be able to find in this dungeon called the Blood Sword, so that's something that we're going to be able to pick up. But first we will add another level of power and continue to move on. Watch out for these night enemies, you don't want to get too close to them. And just keep making your way to the left where you'll find this puzzle room. It's not a very crazy puzzle room, you just need to not disturb any of the treasure chests. If you do, the stairs will go away, but you can always just exit and re-enter that room if you need to reset the puzzle. From here, we're going to head over to the right, and that's all we need to do in this section. We just want to go all the way to the right, including through this wall. So break through this wall on the right and keep making your way in that direction. The next time we get to a room that has a wall on the right side, that's going to be the end of our rightward movement, and we'll need to actually go up in this room. It was a long time ago when we first met these owls and pumpkins, and they are not very intimidating anymore. That brings us to stairway F. Now if we wanted to move on from here, we can break through the wall at the top, but if we want to get the Blood Sword, we want to come down into this room, and we need to clear all of the knights in here. That will get us the sword. The Blood Sword is not the most powerful weapon, but it's kind of cool. Whenever you damage enemies using the Blood Sword, it will refill some of your health. So certainly an optional weapon. You'll notice as soon as we equip it that it deals less damage than the Morning Star. But you can be a little bit reckless whenever you're using the Blood Sword, because if you're taking damage whenever you're fighting the enemies, you're also going to be getting it back. So I kind of like the Blood Sword. The only downside is that it's a sword, so it doesn't have great range unless it has a full-powered wheel meter. So we won't get a ton of use out of the blood sword, and we'll probably be going back to the Morning Star most of the time. Using that Morning Star, we'll be able to go through the wall at the top of the room there, and the door on the right side is going to take us to Stairway G, and Stairway G is going to take us pretty much to the end here. But of course, first we'll need to equip a key so that we can get through this door, and we'll equip that one key so that'll free up another slot in our inventory. We've been doing a lot of inventory management lately, so it'll be nice to have that extra slot free. And here is that stairway. That's Stairway G. And from here, we just need to go down and to the left. The enemies here aren't particularly threatening, and that treasure chest was just going to be a regular cure. Probably not as good as most of the other items that we're already carrying, so that's why we're going to let that one go. And here is yet another puzzle room. I bet you can figure out what you need to do here. We need to freeze the night enemies and push them onto those switches. So make sure that there's 2 night enemies whenever you come into this room. You can always exit the room and re-enter if you need to respawn the enemies. Also remember that whenever you shoot the ice that you can control it. I kind of thought I had already hit the night there, and I was already starting to walk again whenever I was controlling that icicle. So we'll move this snowman down here, and they just have to be barely touching the switches, that's all that will count. And that brings us to this stairway. And from here it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to the Dark Lord. Don't let your health get too low, you can always ask for healing. And whenever we go up this stairway, that's going to take us to the throne room. So this is where Dark Lord likes to hang out. But we'll do battle with him outside. Probably should have taken a moment to get ready for this boss. You might want to save the game before you go in here. But it's time for the showdown. Unfortunately, Ray is not going to join us. We tell her to stay outside. It would be really nice if she would stay with us so that we can get some free heals while we're fighting this guy. Hey, did you see that? He just called me a good boy. You don't know how much of a compliment that is, Dark Lord. Alright, this guy isn't too hard to beat. You want to use the Morning Star, and you just want to try to pin him against one of the walls or in one of the corners. I like the lower right corner myself. If you can get him against a wall, you can just keep pummeling him. Even the top and bottom walls can work. If it looks like you're getting low on health, you can use your cure magic. But that's really all there is to fighting this guy. Just push him up against the walls and just keep beating him down, and you should have no problem defeating the Dark Lord. But the pendant he had, well, it was a fake. So yeah, where's the real pendant? I know, we leveled up at that guy's expense. Well, Dark Lord, I guess you shouldn't have made us fight in the gladiator pits. Even if it was probably a good idea to help raise our experience points. That is not how you treat the people in your military. Of course, Ray isn't here, and we automatically jump to the conclusion that Julius is at fault. Where is he? He must be at the waterfall. When we come outside, we're already too late. Ray is under Julius's spell. All we can do is watch as he runs towards the falls. So we'll hurry over to the left. And there she is. Maybe it's not too late. What's wrong, Ray? Yeah, of course, Julius certainly has a flair for the dramatic. It's too late, Kylo. She's mine. What? It seems that Julius now has the pendant, and he has Ray under his control. This is kind of the situation we've been trying to avoid the entire time. This is bad. Ray, what did you do to her, Julius? And then of course he has to go on and tell us that he's the last one left of Empire Vandal, blah blah blah. Yeah, we know. You were an orphan baby left in a waterfall cave and Dark Lord found you, whatever. Well, now I guess we're about to see what happens whenever Ray casts the spell. And the effect is pretty cool. Suddenly, the waterfall flows upwards. And as the two slowly back into it, Julius takes one last chance to launch a fireball attack and knock Kylo down the falls once more. He must have hit us pretty far because we fell all the way into a brand new area, the Crystal Desert. And yeah, we're not feeling great after that one, but we're not dead, proving once again that fatal falls cannot kill Kylo. And it looks like our friend the Chocobo is here. Well, that's great. And he seems to be taking us to some kind of castle? And does it talk now? Is the Chocobo talking to someone named Sarah? Or, nah, maybe Sarah's having a conversation with somebody else. And that somebody else? Well, maybe it's Bogard. Bogard! How have you been, my man? Long time no see. It seems that Bogard also fell out of the airship and also is totally not dead. So maybe being able to survive falls is a Geminite thing. After watching Julius ascend the falls, knowing full well that he's going to claim the power of mana, we are pretty down on ourselves and we don't really seem to want to do this anymore. Why should we continue to fight when we're not going to ever be able to defeat him? Why me? Why does it have to be Kylo? Well, Bogard is not having it. He tells us that we should shut up, and then he tells us to get out. Well, we know when we're not wanted. But whenever we get outside, we finally get to meet up with this Sarah person. Sarah lets us know that Bogard actually broke his back whenever he fell out of the airship, so that's why he can't help us fight. He just didn't want us to know. He had too much pride. A broken back seems particularly bad in this world. I do not think the healthcare around here is very good. Still, it seems that Bogard believed in us the entire time. He kept telling Sarah that a boy named Kylo would come and save us. And whenever we showed up, and our Chocobo was also able to vouch for us, well, Sarah also became a believer. So maybe we should believe in ourselves? I think that's the moral of the story here. I'm not actually sure what was wrong with our Chocobo, but he's being treated over at some guy named Dr. Bowow's house. We are going to have to go over there, but first, let's take a look at this very interesting weapons and armor shop here in the village of Ish. There's a lot of stuff that we want to buy here in the village of Ish, and I'm about to show you my money-making trick, and part of that trick is we need to have a mostly empty inventory. So I'm going to sell almost everything I have. Maybe I'll keep a pack of keys, although you can always buy those again later. If you want to save something like a nectar, some kind of item that you can only find that enemies drop, that's maybe worth keeping, but try to empty as much of your inventory as you can. Once you've done that, the most important thing that you're going to buy here is the flame flail, and if you have the money for it, the flame shield is also good. I'm going to buy the flame armor and I'm going to use it so you can see it in action, but after reviewing this footage, I've come to the conclusion that the flame armor is not actually a good buy, and instead you should get the ice armor, which is going to be in a different location, but we are going to be going near there whenever we do that money-making trick. Over here, there's your standard item shop, so if you need anything you'll be able to buy it there, but we want to dump items right now, not pick up more. Before we go, we need to meet with that Dr. Bowow character, but first we can talk to some of the people in town. This kid will definitely talk some ish on the Vandal Empire, and he tells us that the ruins lie under the desert, so that's something that could be important in the future. And this guy tells us that we may be able to talk to Dr. Bowow about a way to get across the water. If you need to use the inn, you can stop here. Looks like we're doing okay, so we won't use the inn right now. And over here, this is Dr. Bowow's house. And we certainly hear something going on inside. Could it be science? Whenever we enter, it seems that the good doctor is exploding our Chocobo. Is this guy really a doctor, or is that just his first name? I didn't notice any universities in this game. It's not like this is the magic of Scheherazade. But he seems to have improved our Chocobo and given it robot legs. I've been thinking of getting metal legs. It's a risky operation, but it'll be worth it. And with that, we now have a Chocobo with robot legs. Because of the robot legs, we'll be able to use that Chocobo to cross the ocean, so that's pretty awesome. And Dr. Bowow suggests that we talk to Bogard before we leave. And this part's optional, but if we do talk to Bogard, he'll explain what the next part of our mission is. Now that Julius has the full power of mana, the only way we're going to be able to stop him is with the legendary sword Excalibur. Now, we know from part 1 when we took the shortcut route that we're not going to get Excalibur until the very end of the game, but we'll play along for now. We need to somehow find Cibba, and he would know how to find Excalibur. Bogard seems to think that Cibba is in the town of Wendell, but he's not. He's actually in the town of Lorim, and so we can stop there next. But unfortunately, Lorim has seen better days. Things are not going well in that town. This kid mentions that Julius summoned evil monsters, and the evil monsters that he summoned are 4 elemental bosses. Some of them are the ones from Final Fantasy. We certainly want to take our Chocobo with us. That's how we're going to get across the ocean. And we'll head over here to the left. If we go down and to the left, remember that screen. That's where we're going to come back to later when we need to go to the Dime Tower. But for now, we could stop up here at this magic shop. And if you need to buy something like an ether, you can get it here. But remember, we're about to do that money-making trick, so we're trying to keep our inventory mostly empty. Okay, the way to get into the ocean is located 2 screens above where the magic shop was. And as you go through here, there are a few of those armadillo enemies that you'll see. If you take the time to fight those, they could drop a stamina item, and that's a pretty useful item that will give you increased stamina for a short time, and that kind of translates into having a lot more armor. So that's not a terrible item to have. But you just want to come up here and follow the snowy coastline until you get to this area, which is called the Ammonite Coast. Come over to this screen, and this is the one that you're looking for. It has a very conspicuous looking platform in the middle, so get off of your Chocobo when you get to this island, and you want to attack these seahorse enemies with your Morning Star. Whenever you clear them all, a treasure chest will appear, and inside that chest there will be an item called an Elixir. Once you get that Elixir, save the game and then reload, and when you come back and you kill the seahorses again, you'll notice that the treasure chest appears again. Now you want to keep doing this over and over again until you have a full inventory filled with elixirs. Those are worth 640 gold pieces each, so whenever we sell those, we're gonna have mad money. If you look on the Ammonite Coast map, there's an armor shop. That's where you want to go to buy the ice armor. I'm going to go and get the flame armor so that you'll be able to see how it goes. But after testing it out, the ice armor is just better than the flame armor. There's an elemental property to those armors, so the flame armor will protect you a little bit more from fire attacks, and ice armor will protect you a little bit more from ice attacks, but that stuff doesn't actually matter. What matters is the ice armor gives you 29 defense, and the flame armor only gives you 21, a difference of 8 points. That whole elemental thing, it just doesn't come up all that often, but the 8 points difference in armor, that comes up pretty much every time you take damage from an enemy. The extra 8 points means if you're wearing the flame armor instead of the ice armor, whenever you take damage, you'll just take 8 more damage. And that's going to add up very, very fast. Now, I promised to use all of the different armors, so I am going to buy the flame armor here, and I am going to use it for a while so you can see how it actually works. But I do recommend getting the flame shield and the flame flail from the village of Ish. But if I had it to do again, I would just skip over the flame armor and I would go to the Ammonite Coast and I would buy the ice armor earlier. To get to that ice armor, you want to go to where you found that elixir, and then you want to go down a screen or two until you see a river on the left side, and you're going to enter that river and follow it along, and then you'll be able to find your way back onto the land, and you'll have to use your chain to whip across a few areas, but that's how you get to the armor shop, and that's where you buy the ice armor, and that ice armor is going to give you a plus 29 instead of a plus 21. And it's also going to give you some extra protection against ice attacks. And believe it or not, the next dungeon that we go to is an ice dungeon. So the ice armor, it's just better overall. Any elixirs that you didn't sell, you can always use as items. Elixirs will fill up your health and magic to full. So that is a very, very good item. And you know where you can get more of them, so don't feel bad about using elixirs. You can always go back to that spot in the Ammonite Coast and pick up more. At least until you get pretty deep in the game. There does get to be a point where you can't come back here. Once you're happy with your equipment, we're going to head to the snowfields, and we're going to go and visit the town of Lorim. This part is optional. You could just go straight to the ice cave. But we'll go and see the frozen town, and we'll get a little bit of an understanding of what the stakes are here in the snowfields. So we'll just stay on our Chocobo, and we're going to ride down and around here, and then up these stairs, and here it is, the castle of Lorim. When we get inside, we find a person that has been frozen solid. Luckily, the king is okay, and he lets us know that Julius has summoned monsters in the world, and one named Kary has been doing her best Princess Elsa impression and has frozen the entire town. Cibba is here, but Cibba is one of the ones that has been frozen solid. So we won't be able to get the key from him that will unlock the next area until we take care of this Kary monster. The door has been frozen shut. There's another door on the left side that's locked with a key, but there's nothing good inside there, so don't waste your key. Once you come outside here, we're going to talk to our Chocobo and then ask him for a ride, and we'll head back the way that we came. There's an area near where we came out of the water that we have to chop down some trees, so this is the room right here. Make sure you equip your axe, and we'll go through those pine trees, and that's going to lead us deeper into the snowfield. So watch out for this fish. Chop, chop, chop. You could ride your Chocobo through this screen, but you won't be able to take him much farther. Once you get past this bridge, We tell him that it's just too cold and we'll have to walk ahead without him. We didn't want his poor robot legs to be frozen solid. Once we get in here though, it's time to try out that flame flail. And against the snowman enemies, there is nothing better. It's actually very good against all the enemies here, and it's pretty impressive considering that whenever we did that warp trick, we came to this screen a long time ago, and these enemies were very difficult back then, but this time, they're actually pretty easy. There's an item shop over here if you need it. It's the same old item shop that you've seen many times before. Nothing special here. So grab items if you need them. If you need keys or something, pick them up. We did sell a lot of our stuff to get those elixirs, so you might need some keys before you go into the ice cave. And just work your way over here to the right. You may remember the route from before. Take out the wolf head enemies and the walruses along the way. The wolf heads are worth a lot of experience points, so if you're trying to build up some levels, the wolf heads aren't bad ones to kill. And just make your way around. And if we go over to the right one more screen, that's going to take us to the entrance to the ice cave. And although we were here quite some time ago, we are much better equipped this time. And here it is. There's some kind of unwritten rule that says games like this have to have an ice-themed dungeon, so here we are. These bouncing rabbit-type enemies are hares. Sometimes they go off the screen, but that doesn't mean that they're gone, so keep that in mind. And we've leveled up again. We'll take a level of stamina here. Some of the enemies in the ice cave can deal a decent amount of damage, so stamina will help. You'll see these ice tiles in this area. You can only walk over those a certain direction, so we need to go to the left at the beginning. Against the eyeball enemies, we'll need to use a sword. Could be a good opportunity to use the blood sword. And you'll want to walk over the top tile on the left to be able to get to the door. All we need to do in here is hit the switch and then push the snowman up onto the switch. Got any more brain busters? And then we'll head over here, where we can use our flame flail to get across. You can use the regular chain flail as well, but the flame flail is going to be pretty good here in the ice cave, although we will need to switch back to a sword to take out these eyeballs. Just go through this guy, and we'll have to use that flail again to whip that post. Come down here. You don't need to have full power to whip that post, but you may need to push into the ice to be able to do it with not full power. In here, we'll need to use a key to get through this door. That is the way that we want to go. And then we're going to head over here to the right. In this room, it's the next to last ice at the bottom right that we need to go across. Most of the other ones will repel you, so that's the one right there that you want to cross over. And then we need to come up here. In this room, we can easily take out the pumpkins, and then just take the right path. We'll need to use our morning star here to make like a door and break on through to the other side. And when we get here, it's pretty obvious what we have to do in this room. We'll need to use our flame flail to catch that post in the upper right. Of course, we'll need to charge up our will meter to full power to be able to reach it. So wait until you have full power, and that will get you up there. And in the next room, there's going to be a bunch of those ice tiles again. It's going to be on the right side. If you're not sure which ice tile you need to walk on, just step on any of the ones on the right and they'll bring you to the correct tile. Just a couple easy rooms here to the left and we'll find our first stairway. In this room, we'll see a few enemies from Glaive Castle. They're quite easy to deal with now that we have the flame flail, and of course the flame flail is good against those tornadoes, but it doesn't work on the eyeballs, so we'll just leave that eyeball be and head up the steps. In this room, there's two ways you can go. You want to come down around here and take this ice on the right. It's going to bring us all around this area and take you to the middle of the map, and that's where we wanted to go anyway, so this is an easy way to get there. When you drop off in this room, we just need to go through this wall. So we're going to equip our morning star, There's a couple of flowers marking the path so you can see that this wall is vulnerable. And right up here we'll find the next stairway. We already have our Morning Star equipped, so we're just going to bust through this wall right here and we'll find a hidden recovery spring. And it might be a good time to save the game after we find it. The way that we need to go here is to the right, but if we head over here to the left, we can find a hidden elixir, so we'll take a quick detour to do that. Of course, you know that we can find as many elixirs as we want out in the overworld on the Ammonite coast, but I will show you where this one is hidden. So head on down here, can fight this enemy, and as soon as the enemies in that room are cleared, you'll find a hidden treasure chest filled with an elixir. Not bad. From here, we're going to go through this door, head over here to the right, and then in this room, you could use your Morning Star to break through these rocks. That may be a faster way to get to the door, but it's not totally necessary. You could go around to the right. And we've come to the next stairway. Switch over to the blood sword so we can get this eyeball out of our way, and we got turned to stone. One thing about being turned to stone is you can still attack, you just can't move. So if you don't want to put on your heal magic and waste the MP, you can just wait it out. With that eyeball out of the way, we'll switch back to the flame flail, and we're just going to go around in a clockwise pattern, and that will get us to the stairs. And it brings us outside. This is not the boss yet, this is just going to take us deeper into the ice cave. Get out of here, eyeball. Alright, this is the last section, so of course you need to whip across the ice, head through the door on the left. We'll take on these mad mallards. There's kind of a bottleneck in this room, so we want to clear the enemies, and looks like we leveled up. Where should we put our points this time? We'll just do power again. Getting very strong, and we're going to head over here to the left. It's also nice that it refills your health and magic. Very convenient to level up sometimes. Here's a tricky room. Once you get going in here, you need to whip one of the posts to get off the ice. Try to do it before you take too much damage from the enemies. Then you need to hit the switch in the middle, ride the ice on the left side, and then you can hit the switch on the bottom, which will open the door. That brings us down here. You can take the ice over to the left, and then you'll go through, it'll take you up into this small area, and over to the right, and that's how you get through that room. And in here, we're going to need to equip an axe to break through those corals on the right side. I guess it looks like coral to me. It could be some kind of wood, I don't know, whatever it is, you need the axe to get through it. So we'll put on the were axe and work our way through to another area with 2 ice paths that we can take. And we're going to go exactly the same way we went the previous time, to the right. That'll bring us through this room with a little zigzag, and we'll come down here. You need to go across and over to the right side to get on the ice here, so make sure you get over there. Ride the ice down through this room, and that will bring you to a room with an obvious whipping post, so just hit over there, and you'll need to take the bottom ice path on the left, and that will bring you to the next room. Switch over to the blood sword, might as well gain a little bit of health while we're here, why not? And then we'll zip over here to the left, where we have a choice of where we can go. There's a door at the top, which will take you to another recovery spring, and if you go to the left, that's going to take you on to the next stairway. So we'll hit that recovery spring, save the game like we often do, and then we'll go back down and over to the left. We do need to take the lower left path. In here, this room is annoying, but there's a trick to get through it. You want to save as soon as you get in here, and then just reload the game. Whenever you reload the game, you'll simply be able to step down. That way you won't have to whip those posts while you're moving, and if you miss them, it'll just keep sending you around in a circle, which is really annoying. So by using that little trick, it will save you a lot of time. You'll need to use your Morning Star to get through the wall on the left, and that brings us to the stairway. Of course, we'll need to use our flame flail or chain flail in here to whip these posts, and you'll need to fully power it up to get to a few of them. A big full power whip is going to also take out that enemy, so that was good, and we don't need to power up to hit the upper post, and that brings us outside. The next time we go outside after this, it's going to be the boss, but for now, we'll go into one final chamber. So just whip these posts, you don't need to power up for these ones. Head over here to the right. In this room, we just need to go up, down is a dead end, and one last whipping post area that leads to the stairs that will take us to the boss. Get this Mad Mallard out of the way, and then just whip up here, and here it is. It's about time to fight Kary. So make sure you have your Flame Flail equipped, your Cure Magic, save the game. She's not actually that difficult though. This boss is very similar to the Cyclops that we fought in the inside Mount Rocks area. She moves up and down the right side and stops in the middle, at the top, and at the bottom to shoot some icicles and then go out to the left and then go back into the right. The difference here is that the Flame Flail has a lot more range than the axe we were using against the Cyclops, so you can still attack the boss whenever she comes out in the bottom position. We were just avoiding the boss before whenever he was in the bottom position, but against Kary, you can attack when she is in any of the three positions, so either get above or below her. Never be to the left of Kary for very long, you might get hit by those icicles. And just keep whipping her with the Flame Flail, and eventually she'll go down, and you'll find the Ice Sword. The Ice Sword is an alright weapon, but it's not really what we came here for. Just defeating the boss is going to unfreeze the castle of Lorim, and whenever we go back there, we'll finally be able to get into the frozen room where Cibba is, and he'll be able to give us a key that will open the next dungeon. So that's the plan here. We're gonna get through these snowfields. It's pretty easy this time. We don't really have to use our sleep magic to take care of the walruses when we're at this level. And we've leveled up again. So let's take another level of power. Why not? 51 power right now. We are doing a ton of damage. And just head over here to the left. That'll take us to the screen that's right near the item shop. If you need items, you can head over to the left, but we don't really need any right now, so we're just going to come down here. And when we go down this bridge, that's going to take us to where our Chocobo is, and of course we want to take our Chocobo with us. And we could ask him here, but we are going to run into some trees that we need to chop right away, so we'll need to ask him again so that we can use our axe to get through those pine trees. Choppity chop chop. But once we get to the other side of these trees, we are going to want to ask the Chocobo so that we can ride all the way to Lorim. So we'll get on that Chocobo and take the old Chocobo Express all the way to the castle. So it's just down here. Head on up. And we'll tell our bird friend to wait for us as we enter the now unfrozen castle of Lorim. You won't be surprised to see that this guy says, "Welcome to Lorim." It seems like there's one of those people in every town. It's kind of like Walmart. It's a good way for these villages to employ their elderly or disabled people, so it's nice that they have those greeters for us. When we head over here to the right, we'll finally be able to get through this door and received bone. Oh, Cibba, I didn't know you felt that way. Cibba tells us we need to take our bone key to the Floatrocks, where we'll find the legendary sword. Was any of that serious, Cibba, or is it all innuendo? Well, before we leave Lorim, if you head over to the left, there's a door that's locked with a key, and I want you to know that this is a total waste of a key. And I'm going to waste a key here just so you can see how much of a waste it is. So we can use this key. It's our last one. And up here, there's a guy that says, "Wow, good morning." Yeah, get out of here, good morning guy. You were totally not worth a key. And with that excursion complete, we'll head out of the castle and make our way to the Floatrocks. Of course, we'll take our Chocobo with us. And to get to the Floatrocks, we need to go through the Ammonite coast. Now, we've been there before. That's where we found all of those elixirs that we were able to cash in for a bunch of money. And we should probably do that money-making trick again, because we're going to have to buy some even better equipment. We're going to pick up that ice armor that we probably should have purchased already, and then we're going to buy one of the best weapons in the game, the Thunder Spear, and that costs a ton of money, so we're certainly going to need to stock up. So we're going to head back to the old money-making spot. Just head over here to the right. That takes us to the Ammonite coast, and this is actually near the area where the dungeon is, so we're going to be heading down to the bottom of the map, and it's going to wrap us back around to the top. But for now, we're going to kill all of these seahorses, we'll find a treasure chest, we'll get some elixirs, and we're going to make our way to the store when we're done. We're going to go up to the armor shop, and we'll cash in those elixirs for an ice armor, and we'll also buy the ice shield, which I'm not super sure what the ice shield does for us when compared to the flame shield. Maybe if we had the ice shield earlier, we could have used it to block those icicles that Kary shoots at us. I'm not completely sure, but I haven't tested that yet. If you know exactly what the ice shield does, let me know in the comments. We are going to buy it here though, so you can judge for yourself how useful it is. And we'll just keep getting those elixirs and reloading the game. If you think you have enough money, even if you already had the ice armor and the ice shield, which costs $73.50 and $6,200 each, the Thunder Spear is over 11,000 gold pieces. It's 11,250 to buy. So we're going to need some serious cash to be able to buy this stuff. Once you think you have enough elixirs or enough money, you want to head into this river, and that's going to bring us into the main part of the Ammonite coast. And we'll just head up here. Right up above there, there's a recovery spring. If you need it, you can stop up there, but we don't really need it right now, and we're on a Chocobo, so we're not going to take a lot of damage. We will have to get off, though, to be able to whip that post and get up to the top of the screen here. You're going to need to fill up your will meter as well. So we will equip our flame flail, wait until we have a full will meter, and then whip our way up to the top. We can switch back to our Chocobo here. Watch out for those griffin hand enemies, they can turn you into a Moogle, pretty annoying. And we'll just work our way up here and over to the left. And then we need to whip another post, but we don't need to wait this time. Oh, we got hit by the Moogle. Careful, we're at 0 defense. And in here we're safe, so we don't really have to worry about it. And here's where you can buy the ice armor that we probably should have purchased earlier. We'll need to sell a few things before we can get the ice shield, but I did want to demonstrate all the different armors and all the different shields. But at least you got to see the flame armor in action for an entire dungeon. We can sell off most of our old opal stuff, although we will be keeping the opal helmet until we get to the final dungeon. And that'll give us plenty of money here to be able to buy the ice shield. And we still have a number of elixirs left over, so that we'll be able to sell some more of those and get that Thunder Spear. We should probably fight a few enemies whenever we get down into the Floatrocks area to try to make some more money, just in case we're short, but I think we're going to have enough. So if you didn't already have the ice armor or the ice shield, make sure to grab those before we go on to the next part. The flame armor is definitely not good enough in the next area, even though we're going to fight a fire boss. I tested it. I took a lot more damage wearing the flame armor than I did wearing the ice armor, and it was just because of that +8 difference. 29 armor is a lot more than 21. We'll save the game after using this recovery spring, and we got turned into a Moogle. Now if you get turned into a Moogle and you have your Chocobo available, you'll see that if you ask and then ask again, the Moogle status is just simply removed. So that's one of the only ways that you can get rid of the Moogle status other than just waiting it out. And we're going to make our way down here, go all the way to the bottom, and that's going to bring us into the Floatrocks area, where we'll see a new enemy, the Shell Blast, who you'll want to use your Morning Star against, but you're going to want to have your Morning Star equipped anyway, because we need it to break through all the rocks in this area. You can ride your Chocobo around here, but you're going to have to keep getting off of it very frequently to be able to break through the rocks, so we're going to probably do most of this area on foot. If you head to the left here, we're going to find an item shop. Now, we kind of cleaned ourselves out of keys, so now could be a good time to pick a few up. We can also sell off a few items that we don't need. X cures are not going to be as good as elixirs, and we have a bunch of those. But we definitely need to buy a few sets of keys. I'm going to pick up 2 sets, I think that'll be enough for now. If you're already good on keys, you can skip this item shop. There's nothing really remarkable to buy there. And the way that we actually need to go is down. So break through those rocks, and we're going to head down here. Don't really need another X cure. And we'll break through these rocks and head over to the right. And from here, we're going to head down. And we're working our way all the way to the bottom of the map, and we're going to wrap ourselves back up to the top. So that's the way the map in this world works. If you go off the edge, you'll come back on the other side. Just keep taking out the enemies and making your way across the path, and we're kind of following the river here. That's an easy way to remember which way to go. Those stingray guys can poison you, so keep that in mind, but that's not as bad as being turned into a Moogle. And over here is the weapon shop, so this is an important one. The Thunder Spear deals a ton of damage, plus 46. It also has good range, so this is going to be a weapon, just like the Flame Flail, that we're still going to be using all the way into the final dungeon, and we're also going to be using it right away in the next dungeon that we go into, so this is something that we absolutely want to buy. It does cost a lot of money, but with that elixir trick, you should have no problem raising the funds that you need to be able to buy this very expensive piece of equipment. And there's probably a few weapons that we have we can sell off. You can definitely get rid of the Wind Spear because this weapon is kind of going to take its place. It's just an upgraded version of the spear. There is a limit to the amount of weapons and armor you can hold in your inventory. It's kind of hard to reach it early in the game, but if you don't sell anything off, you may start to fill it up towards the end, so keep that in mind. And we can try out that Thunder Spear if we want, but we're going to need the Morning Star in this area, so we might as well keep that on for now. In this room, we need to go down. We can pick up an X-Cure since we sold a lot of that stuff. We were kind of avoiding those chests before, but now we have some inventory space to work with. And we're going to head over here to the right. And now we're pretty close to the cave. If we go up here, this is a magic shop, so if you needed to buy some ethers, you could purchase them here, or some of those items that double as magic spells. An opal is a good thing to sell, so we just found one of those. We might as well dump it while we're here. It's worth 1,750 gold pieces, so anytime you see one of those, you'll want to pick them up. But we have elixirs now, so we don't really need to buy ethers. And here's the next dungeon. This is the Cave of the Floatrocks. You'll need to equip your bone key to get in. Wait for me, Chocobo! This cave sort of has two parts to it, and the first one's actually a pretty easy one. We're just going to head up from the start. You can fight these enemies if you want to, and you'll notice that this door is locked, so that's why we stopped at that store before to buy some keys. The bone key will not get you through that door. Over here, we need to break through the wall with our Morning Star, and then we're going to make our way all the way to the right, although there's a puzzle room here. Not a very difficult puzzle. We want to break the rocks at the top, and then we'll hit that switch, and when we hit the switch, it's going to make the water in the middle of the room go away. But first, we got another level up. Let's take another level of wisdom. We haven't taken one of those in a while. We could use a few more magic points. And you see the water is now gone. We can break the rocks on the right side and head through the door on the right. From here, we're almost to the end. Yeah, I told you this was a short one. We just need to go up from here, although in the next room we do need to break through a wall, and you'll notice that there's nothing marking the wall this time. No like flowers or anything indicating that you need to break through, so that's a little bit of a trickier one. And once we descend these stairs, it's time to release the Kraken. If you have the Thunder Spear, the Kraken is super easy to defeat. You'll probably want to equip your Cure Magic, maybe save the game, but you just want to get right above this guy and just keep stabbing it in the face. Sometimes if it hits you with its tentacles, it'll flip you upside down, so you'll be facing upward, and all you need to do is correct yourself at that point and turn back down and keep hitting the Kraken. If you need to heal, you should step off to the right side and use your Cure Magic. The Kraken won't be able to get you over there, and it'll give you a good place to restore your hit points, and then you can go back to the middle right above the Kraken and continue beating him up. Once you're out here, there's a very short area that we need to traverse, and that's going to take us to the second part of the Cave of the Floatrocks, which is often referred to as the Undersea Volcano. The enemies in here are a little bit meaner than the ones in the previous cave, so you'll want to equip your Thunder Spear and try to attack them at long range. That'll help you fight them without getting too close. If you do take damage from these guys, they're going to hit you pretty hard, so keep your Cure spell at the ready. In this room, there's an obvious place where we need to use our Morning Star. I'm starting to think, though, that they're setting us up by making it so obvious which walls we need to break through, because there's going to be a not obvious one in the next room over here on the left. So when we come in here, it looks very straightforward. We just need to go through the door, but actually, we need to Morning Star through the left wall. So I think that's what's going on. They're trying to lull us into a false sense of security so that we don't check all the walls. And in here, we need to use our sickle, an item we haven't used in a long time, to clear out the plants, but keep the night enemies alive, because we're going to need to use our ice magic on them so that we can push them onto those switches. If you accidentally kill the night enemies, you're going to have to reload this room, which is kind of annoying, but the good thing about the sickle is it doesn't deal a ton of damage, so it's less likely that you'll kill them by accident. This area outside will bring us to the next part of the dungeon, which is marked with a letter B on the map, and you'll see where we come out in the lower right corner. So that's where we're going to emerge if you're looking at the map. Be careful of these enemies here. They can deal some serious damage, and when we get into the next part, we're going to have to walk across some lava, and that lava does massive damage. So we're going to need to cure ourselves when we walk across it, and we don't want to have low HP when we get there. So here's the room that I'm talking about. We want to clear the enemies in here, and then we're going to have to go across that whole field of lava, and it's going to hit us pretty hard. You might be thinking, hey, maybe the flame armor would protect you from the lava, but I tested that and it didn't do anything. So, nope, that didn't work either. Good idea though. And so we're going to just clear out the enemies. Alright, we leveled up. We were going to use an ether or something to make sure that we had enough magic points. That's pretty important. We'll get some wisdom here. That way we'll have enough. We're going to have to cross another lava field later if we want to get a new weapon. And we'll come up here where we'll meet our friend the gecko. Don't give him 15 minutes or even 15 seconds. Just kill that guy and move on up into this room where we'll head over to the left. Take out another gecko and then go down. From here, we're going to need to go to the left. We will equip our Morning Star. That's pretty good against those enemies. And we're also going to need it in this room to break through some rocks. There's a ineffective mouse enemy there. And if you want to get this weapon, it's the Zeus axe, and it's the best axe in the game, but it's not a weapon we're going to get a ton of use out of. And this is very dangerous, so I recommend saving before you do it. Make sure you have your Cure Magic equipped. and then fire walk with me. Here we go. Keep curing, keep curing. Okay, we got through, we didn't die. If you do die, just reload your game, because hopefully you saved beforehand. And in the next room, we'll be able to get this Zeus axe whenever we clear all of the enemies. You will have to use a key to get in there. So if you want to skip this, I don't blame you, it's not that big of a deal. We'll clear out the Mad Mallards here with our Thunder Spear, and we'll get that Zeus axe. It's just that axes don't have very good range. The plus 48 attack is nice, but even though it doesn't deal as much damage, we're going to get a lot more use out of the Thunder Spear. And we do have to cross this lava again after we get the Zeus axe, so try to clear as many of the enemies as you can. That gargoyle doesn't look like he's going to bother us. Keep your cure magic on. Make sure you have high enough HP before you go into the lava. And here we go. Alright, we got through again. And now we can kill that gargoyle. And we'll heal up a bit more. And we're back to this room. Now we want to go back the way we came. We took a little detour to get the Zeus axe. What we actually need to do is go to the right here. And we want to double back to the room right above where we met that first gecko. So not this room with the geckos, but it's the one that was right above when we went through the first lava field. So this is where we were trying to get back to. We need to go through the door at the top of this room. So if you wanted to skip the Zeus axe when you come to that room, you can just go up instead. And there's a neatly marked wall here that we need to Morning Star through, so we're going to head over to the right. There's a bunch of lava in the next room, but we definitely don't have to walk through it, so just avoid. And we can try out that Zeus axe that we just got. And I don't think it's going to be very exciting against this set of enemies. I don't even think it works against the spikes. So yeah, a little bit underwhelming. But that's the Zeus axe, so you've seen it. And that brings us to the next part of the Undersea Volcano, and this part is eventually going to lead us to the boss, but there are a number of different paths that you can take here, so try not to get lost. In this room, we're going to head over to the right. We found the next ether, that's pretty good. Try to stay out of the lava, obviously. And we're trying out our ice sword. We haven't really used this one very much, but it is decent against a lot of the enemies in here, although I don't think it's better than the Thunder Spear. So you can check it out, and if you head all the way down here, this is a recovery spring, so that's pretty nice. And we can save the game after recovering, but where we actually need to go is over to the right here. Try to clear these enemies. Grab another X-Ether, pretty good. And head through this door, but it is locked, so we'll have to use another key. Open up that door. That brings us into this room, which looks like a dead end, but it's not. If we use our Morning Star, we'll be able to break a rock in the lower right corner, and that will reveal a stairway. Now, you can see the Zeus axe is a lot better against those enemies, so it is not bad, but it may not be worth the effort that it takes to retrieve it. In this room, there's 3 doors. You want to take the door on the right side. That's the one that's going to get you where you need to go. And we're going to head down through this room, take a left, and then all we need to do is go up, and that stairway is going to take us to the boss. We'll try to stay away from those clouds. There is a puzzle room here. We're going to need to use our ice magic, obviously. There are a lot of ice puzzles in this game. You want to try to use the ice on an enemy when they're pretty close to the switch. That'll just make it easier. So try to hit this guy. He's right in line with the lower switch. And then if we just go to the top, maybe we can lure one of the moth enemies up there, or even the spike. and once he gets up in our lane, we'll just hit him with the ice, and then we won't have to worry about pushing a snowman all around, and then you just need to hit one of these snowmen. It's okay once the stairway has been revealed. And that brings us to the boss's chamber. This boss's name is Iflyte, or maybe it's Iflyte or Iflyte, I'm not 100% sure. What I do know is that you want to use the Thunder Spear against this guy. He is a fire-based boss, so the Ice Sword would deal good damage against him, but you'll have to get closer to attack with the Ice Sword, so I think the Thunder Spear is better. When the boss is at the top and just moving back and forth, you want to just keep trying to hit him in the face from right below the boss. But when he goes into this ball form, when the ball is moving downward, you want to go to the upper left corner, and when the ball is moving upward, you want to go to the lower left corner. That will help you avoid it. You can still hit the boss when he's in ball form, but you need to hit right in the front center of the ball, sort of like where the boss's head would be. And this is the best thing to do though whenever he's in ball form. Just try to avoid him, get a shot in if you can, but when the ball is coming down, you want to be in the upper left, and when the ball is going up, you want to be in the lower left. So we're in the upper left, move down to the lower left. If the boss stops at the top, we're going to start attacking him. If he continues in ball form, we'll continue this avoidance strategy. And if you're not attacking the boss, your will meter is going to be filling up, so it's not like you're wasting time, and you know, I did it wrong there, so you see what happens if you do it wrong, you get hit by the boss. Alright, resume the pattern. And that's it. That's how you defeat Iflyte. And whenever he's defeated, we'll get a chest containing the rusty sword. Huh. Is this the Excalibur? You know who would know if we got the right sword? It's Cibba, so we should go back and see him, but oh no, our Chocobo is stuck up there. Well, if that happens, just exit the screen and come back on, and your Chocobo should be in the right place, and we can take him with us. We are definitely going to want him on our side, but for now, we're going to want to use our Morning Star. You can see that the rusty sword is not very good for attacking things. It's more of a key that we're going to need to use in a place called the Cave of Ruins. We really have to get out of the Floatrocks here. So we're going to head back to the left on this screen. Watch out for the enemies. If you get turned into a Moogle or you get poisoned, just ask your Chocobo and then ask again. And when you come back, you'll find that your status condition has been removed. We leveled up again. We'll take another level of stamina to get some more hit points and more defense. And then we'll head up this way. In this room, we need to head over to the left. If you go over to the right, that'll take you to the upper side where the dungeon was, and we don't want to go there. That's the store where you can buy the Thunder Spear. I think you could buy the Thunder Spear pretty early if you want to, especially with the money-making trick. You would have to trek all the way down here, but once you have the Morning Star and the Chocobot, you should be able to get down there. So if you wanted to grab the Thunder Spear early, that might be a good strategy. You could have it before you go in the ice cave, if you're willing to make the trip. I think if I had to rank my favorite weapons in the game, number 1 would be the Flame Flail, number 2 would be the Thunder Spear, and number 3 would be the Morning Star. And then I guess Excalibur would be after that, but you don't get to use Excalibur for very long. You get a lot of use out of those other weapons. And once you get onto the Ammonite coast, you can just ask your Chocobo. We're not going to have to hammer through any more rocks, so we can just make our way back the way we came. Over here we will have to dismount so that we can use a flail to get across. So just flail across the river. Gotta ask first. And get to the other side, and then we can resume Chocoboing. And we could go up here and use the recovery spring. Sometimes when I try to use this recovery spring, it doesn't seem to work. It happens every now and again. If that ever happens, just walk off the screen and walk back up there, and the recovery spring should work normally. To get out of here, we just need to get back into the river, and that river will take us to the sea. So just follow it along until the water changes, it gets a little more brackish. And we're going to head up here. We'll go past the area where the elixirs are, so you could stop over there if you wanted to get more money. But we're not going to need very much more money at this point in the game, so not really that big of a deal. All of the rest of the equipment that we get in this game is going to be stuff that we find, not stuff that we have to buy. To get to Lorim from here, all we need to do is go down into this watery inlet, and we'll follow the water around. So just keep on walking down past the bridge, and once we get to the bottom, we'll find a spot where we can get back onto the land, and then we'll take the stairs up, and just follow this path all the way to the once frozen castle of Lorim. Once we get in there, we'll be able to show Cibba our rusty sword. Wait for me here, bird buddy. Whenever we talk to Cibba, he's going to tell us about a place called the Dime Tower. And the Dime Tower is a pretty large dungeon that we're going to have to complete to get back to where the castle is. If you look at a full map of the overworld of this game, the area where the castle and the waterfall that Julius went up to the top of, none of that is actually on the main overworld map. So whenever we get up there, it's because we went through a cave or we started there. There's a number of ways to get up to the castle, but there's no way to simply walk there. So that's what we're really trying to do. We need to use this rusty sword in a place called the Cave of Ruins, and to get to the Cave of Ruins, the first thing that we need is the magic spell of Nuke. The magic spell of Nuke is the most powerful magic in the game, but it also serves as a key. We'll need it to open the way to the Cave of Ruins. So where do we get the magic spell of Nuke? We need to ask Dr. Bowow. He would know where to find it. So we're going to make our way back to the town of Ish, and we'll talk to Dr. Bowow there and see what he has to say. All of this talking to people stuff is totally optional, so once I show you where to get the nuke magic, you can just go directly there after you finish the previous dungeon. But we will see what these guys have to say so we can get a little bit more of an understanding of what's happening in the story. So from here to get back to Ish, we just want to go back to the top of this area, so get out of this watery inlet, and we'll head to the left, and that'll take us right back to the Crystal Desert. Now the Crystal Desert, that's where Cibba was saying that Dime Tower is, but we've never actually seen a tower in here. We're going to have to raise it out of the sand. To get back to Ish, we just need to go right and down, so just keep working your way over to the right, and when you can't go right anymore, go down, and that will bring us to the city gates. We'll have our Chocobo wait for us, and we'll go back into the village of Ish. You can use the inn if you need it, but we're gonna go straight over to Dr. Bowow's house. As usual, he's looking like one of those cavemen that wants to sell you car insurance, but he's going to tell us where we can find the ultimate book of magic. It seems that we have to go to a place called the Palmy Desert and defeat a boss called Lich. The Palmy Desert isn't actually very far from here at all. So we can just make our way out of the village of Ish, and we'll get back on our Chocobo, and all we're going to do is go right back to the ocean where we came into the Crystal Desert. And from here to get there, we're going to just go up and to the left. So keep going up, and then go to the left. And here's where we get into the ocean, and we just want to go up here, and that's going to take us to a small new area we haven't been to before. And we want to go through this corridor of palm trees, and that'll take us to a small peninsula. And from here, we just need to go down to the water and head to the left. And that will wrap around to where there's a very small cave. Now this cave only has 2 rooms in it, and then you go to the boss's chamber. So it's essentially just like a boss. But this is one of the most difficult bosses in the game. So we do need to be careful that we don't take a bunch of damage from the enemies getting in there, or we're going to at least need to use a bunch of curative items before we fight this boss. So all we need to do is get through one more room, and that's going to take us to where Lich is. Alright, an X-Ether, pretty good. Clear out these guys, make our way to the stairs going down. And, oh, another one. Nice. And here we are, the boss's chamber, so very easy cave, but tough boss. For this guy, we want to use our flame flail, believe it or not. Lich floats around in like a wave pattern, and he launches skulls at you. You want to try to stay as far away from this guy as you can while whipping him with the flame flail, and when the skulls are coming towards you, try to whip them with the flame flail too. You can actually clear them. Now, whenever Lich goes off the screen, he's going to come back on the screen on the opposite side. So if he goes off on the left, he'll come in on the right. If he goes off at the top, he'll come in on the bottom, and vice versa. So keep that in mind. Whenever he goes off the screen, that's a good opportunity to cure yourself if you took some damage, so make sure you have your cure magic available. And just try to keep your distance from the boss, because touching the boss himself deals you a lot of damage, but getting hit by the skulls is not quite as big of a deal. So you can see there, I just got in contact with the boss and I took like 70 damage. So that's the stakes, and I actually probably should heal here, but alright, we got him anyway. That's all you need to do to defeat Lich. Just try to walk around him as he's floating, hit him from far away with the flame flail, and cure yourself whenever he's off screen and you have a good opportunity to do so. And you should have no problem defeating him, and you'll be able to get that magic book of Nuke. Now that we have the magic book of Nuke, how do we open up that cave of ruins? Well, we can go back to Dr. Bowow and ask him. Hopefully he'll be able to give us some guidance on what we need to do. The Nuke magic is pretty awesome. It takes 3 magic points to use, but if you've been building up wisdom, this is one you're going to be very happy to have obtained. And even if you haven't, we're going to have a very good opportunity to use it whenever we get to the Dime Tower. So we'll head back here into Ish, and we'll try to talk to Dr. Bowow one more time. We really took a beating at the hands of Lich there, so we will stop at the inn first, might be a good idea. And that'll bring us back to full power. And then, yeah, we can go back here and talk to Dr. Bowow. This, of course, is optional. Let's see what he has to say now that we have the ultimate magic. Finally, there is a piece of crystal you can blow with Nuke in the Crystal Desert. Find it. That's all you have for us, Dr. Bowow? Blow up one of the crystals in the Crystal Desert? Do you know how many crystals there are in the Crystal Desert? There's like a ton of them. Well, the good news is, I know which crystal we need to blow up. So let's go to the area at the top of the map, and you can see there's a spot where Cave of Ruins is actually marked on the map. And it's in this room right here. We need to blow up the crystal on the right side. So none of the ones at the bottom, the ones right in the middle. Use your Nuke, face it, hit it with a blast of Nuke, and you'll see that an opening appears. We tell our Chocobo to wait for us, and enter the Cave of Ruins. The Cave of Ruins isn't particularly difficult. At the beginning here, we'll see some new enemies. These guys are snails in the mirrors, and if we use our Morning Star, we'll easily be able to get through them, although I did want to try out the Nuke magic, so we gave that a go at first. It's also very good. And we'll make our way down these stairs, which will bring us into the main part of the dungeon. The Cave of Ruins is fairly straightforward, and there are 2 good pieces of equipment that we'll find here. The second best shield, and the second best sword. In this room, these tiles work similar to the ice that we encountered in the ice cave, so we can't go over that way. What we want to do is go through the middle and over to the right side. Inside this treasure chest, we'll find the dragon shield. So this is a nice shield upgrade. It'll help us avoid the beams from these robot enemies that we're encountering for the first time, so watch out for them. As we come up here, we'll just go straight through this room. And if we go to the left here, that will put us on a trajectory to get that dragon sword. So would probably like to get that. Watch out for the barriers between those pyramids. Stepping on those will deal you a ton of damage. It's sort of like hitting lava. And here we'll grab another level of stamina, and we'll continue on to the left. In this room, there's a simple treasure chest, and inside, the dragon sword. So this one has a plus 56 attack, which is quite good, although it's still a sword, so it doesn't have the range as something like the flame flail or your thunder spear. So for now, we'll use the thunder spear. It's very good against these robot enemies. But whenever we get into this room and we see those snails, we might want to try out the dragon sword. So dragon sword, pretty good against the enemies in this room. And we just want to cut our way to the right. The dragon sword is technically optional. We don't really need it to beat any of the bosses. But it's not that hard to pick up, so you might as well grab it before you get out of the Cave of Ruins. In here, I recommend using the Thunder Spear against the I Spy enemies that spawn in this room. They're very easily dealt with using it. And we're just going to come up through here. We'll be using that Thunder Spear on the robots again in this room. And they drop this Thunder item. If you'd like to see what that does, here it is. It's sort of like the Lit spell, but it's a bit stronger. It's certainly not an item we're going to need for anything, so feel free to use any of those that you pick up. And we'll come up through this door. There's a Mad Mallard up here. We can take him out and then make our way to the left. And in the next room, that is where the boss is going to be, so be careful around the enemies in this room. I like to take them out with the Thunder Spear first, and then we want to get ready for the next battle. The weapon that we're going to use is the Flame Flail, so put that one on. And I also recommend having the Cure magic, in case you take some damage, and we're going to have to walk through a barrier at the very beginning, so you want to make sure you have Cure ready to go. So go through the barrier and Cure up. The boss here is the Mantis Ant, the classic boss from the beginning of Secret of Mana. This was actually his first appearance here. So to fight this guy, you want to stay about midway up the screen and attack it from far away with the Flame Flail. You'll be able to attack very quickly with the Flame Flail, which is nice, and sometimes the Mantis Ant will come down in a zigzag pattern at you, and if you're farther away from him, you'll have more of a warning when it's about to happen, and it'll be a lot easier to get out of the way. The worst thing that you can do is run into the barrier on the side of the room, so try to work in the middle of the room, and try to stay as far away from the boss as you can. If you just keep beating him down with that Flame Flail, the Mantis Ant will go down fairly quickly, and make sure that you're okay to walk through the barrier before you enter this room. The last thing that you want to happen is that you die before you can put the Rusty Sword into the slot. So make sure you have the Rusty Sword on, step on this tile, and the Rusty Sword released its mystic power. We'll have a little bit of an earthquake here, and then we're immediately ejected into the desert, where we find out that the Tower of Dime will appear somewhere in this desert. Double exclamation point! The Dime Tower will appear 3 screens to the south from where we're at right now, but before we go there, we can make one last pit stop in the village of Ish. Once we complete the Dime Tower, we're going to be on a crash course that leads us directly to the final dungeon, and we will not be able to go back. When we're in the final dungeon, it's going to be a good idea to have a completely filled inventory, so you want to stock up on items if you don't have very many right now. We definitely want to have full HP and MP before we go on. The Dime Tower is actually one of my favorite dungeons in the game. It's not very difficult if you know what to do, and the companion that joins us inside is very awesome. From the village of Ish, take your Chocobo with you and then ask him for a ride. We're going to go down one screen and then just start heading to the left. When you get to the correct place, you'll automatically see this cutscene, and the Tower of Dime will rise out of the desert. It's a pretty big tower, so it'll take a minute for it to come up. Yep, this is the next dungeon, and it's the next to last dungeon in the game, so we're getting very close to the end here. We tell our Chocobo to wait for us, but we're not going to be coming back here. Once we get inside, we find a robot named Marcy. It seems that Dr. Bowow made her. What was Dr. Bowow making a girl robot for? To search for relics? Yeah, I guess we'll go with that. There are two directions we can go here at the beginning, so we're going to start out by going to the left. In my opinion, Marcy is the best companion character that we get, and here's the reason why. Not only does she have very powerful beam weapons which just wreck the enemies, but we can use as much magic as we want. You'll see that we're going to be recklessly nuking stuff in here, and whenever you ask Marcy, she gives you all of your MP back, and you can do that as much as you want. It's pretty broken. Nuke doesn't work on that swarm enemy, which is why I killed it with the Morning Star, but it does work on that Kimono Wizard. And we can ask for more MP whenever we want to. Nuke is very good against the Doom Swords and the Power Gloves that we fight in here. The Power Gloves can drop Ethers for us. Of course, we don't really need Ethers right now per se, but they will come in handy in the next dungeon where unfortunately we will not have Marcy. Remember, we want to have a full inventory by the time we get to the final dungeon, although don't be afraid to use an item here or there if you need it. We're going to head into this room, and in here we need to go through the wall. Once again, this one's not well marked, so they're getting a little bit sneakier with it. These tornado enemies will not be killed by your nuke magic, but you can get them very good with the lit magic. And we've leveled up, and since we're using a lot of magic here, maybe now's a good time to grab another level of wisdom. There are two ways we can go here, but we want to go through the door at the top. And in here, there are more of those swarm enemies. Sometimes they can turn you into Moogles. They kind of look like what I assume Oscar the Grouch must look like when he's outside of the garbage can. And although they're orange in this game, they would be dark green on the Game Boy. We'll use up some X-Cures because that's what we're going to find in here. And it's nice to have a full health, although we can cast Cure Magic as much as we want, and then we can just have Marcy give us our MP back. So you should never have low hit points when you're in the Dime Tower. Head up the stairs here. That takes us to this area where we'll go to the left. It's the only way that we can go. We'll nuke some more monsters. Get out of here, mirror. Head down. And in this room, we want to go to the right. We'll take out the I Spy first, of course. We'll ask for a few more magic points. And once we get into here, we're going to go straight down, but we'll take this opportunity to kill a Power Glove. Avoid those enemies, they can't be killed with Nuke. And in this room, we can read a little bit of information about the Mana Tree. I think we kind of knew that already though. If we go to the right, that takes us to our second stairway, and that takes us outside this time, so we'll climb up this vine which leads us to a higher level of the Dime Tower, and that's going to take us to the stairway marked C on our map. We'll ask for some more magic, and go in the door, and the door appears as a stairway on the other side. Doesn't make a ton of sense, but hey, it is what it is. Use your Morning Star against the swarms, watch out for those rings that they're shooting, but feel free to nuke those Kimono Wizards. They're the ones that look like weird duck monsters. The previous dungeon had the Dragon Sword and the Dragon Shield, And in here, we're going to be able to get the dragon armor, which is the second best armor in the game. There is no dragon helmet. So a little bit disappointing, no dragon helmet. And, well, we have a complete equipment inventory, so we need to throw some stuff away. Money is not important anymore, so just get rid of anything that you don't think you'll use, the wear axe, any random extra shields or lower armor that you have. Get rid of those things. We want to make sure that we still have some inventory space in here when we get to the next dungeon. And I like to imagine that I'm putting all those items back into the treasure chest, so someday in the future, some other explorer will find all of those items and think that they found something really good. Back in this room, we need to break through the wall on the left, and that will take us to another room filled with power gloves. We'll get our nuke magic back on and blast through them. Remember that if you have a completely filled willpower gauge, your magic deals 4 times as much damage. So it's pretty good when you have a full will gauge and you're using magic. In this room, if you come down here, we can take a little nap in a bed, which will completely restore us. That would be more useful in another dungeon, but in this one, we have Marcy at our side, so there's not going to be a problem there. Take the stairs up into this room, which is a puzzle room, and in this room we're going to need to use our ice magic, and we should also use the battle axe instead of our Zeus axe. We don't want to kill these enemies by accident, so we're going to use the weaker axe here. Try to chop down the trees in front of them, and then hit them with your ice magic so that they freeze on top of those switches. Once they're both snowmen, it will open the door. That takes us up into this room. In here, we're getting pretty close to the end. We just need to go over to the right and then down, and we'll be able to reach the boss. We got turned to stone here, but there's no reason to panic. We gained a level, and we can hit enemies from far away with our magic, so it won't take long for that to wear off, and we'll just move along on our way, taking out the enemies as we go. The door is locked here, so we'll need a key. We still have 8 keys remaining. Hopefully that will be enough. And we can put on our dragon sword. It'll be good for the enemies in the next couple rooms. On here we can read a tablet, and it tells about Vandal leaving their last hope in the Cave of the Waterfalls. That last hope, of course, is the baby Julius. So what was the strategy if Julius didn't happen to be adopted by Dark Lord? Would he have just died in that cave? Really solid planning there, Vandal Empire. Well, we're going to go up these stairs, and that's going to take us to the boss. This is Garuda, and we're going to equip our cure magic, and the best weapon here is going to be the flame flail. So we're using that flame flail again. This boss is actually super easy with the flame flail, but we'll save the game anyway just to be safe. So the boss goes between 2 positions, the upper left corner and the upper right corner, and basically when the boss is in the upper right, you want to be in the lower right. When the boss is in the upper left, you want to be in the lower left. And you just want to be facing upward, whipping at the boss. The boss will try to shoot some feathers at you, but if you're in the right position, you should be knocking out all of those feathers with your flame flail, and this guy just goes down super fast. It turns out that Garuda was a load-bearing boss, and now the tower is going to collapse. If you want to restore your magic points with Marcy, now may be your last opportunity. Once you get over here, it's too late. Yeah, probably should have done that. The edge of the tower breaks off. Oh no. But Marcy has a plan. She can throw us across and then jump. Yeah, great plan, Marcy. Let's do that. We get tossed over in super slow motion. But once we get to the other side, Marcy hesitates. What's going on, Marcy? Come on. You gotta come across. You have to save the world. You are the only hope. Marcy, what are you talking about? Come on over, we need you for the final dungeon. I am unable to jump. Marcy, you lied to me. I was made to work in here, and I sleep here. Of all the NPCs that have left us in this game, losing Marcy is probably the one that hurts the most. See you sometime, kid. But sadly, that would be the last time we would ever see Marcy. With a dime tower left to dust, we walk by the castle where all of this started, and now there's only one thing left to do. The waterfall begins flowing upward. It's time to fall one more time, but this time, we're going to fall upwards. A nice slow motion launch from the waterfall brings us to the top. It's time for the Temple of Mana. In addition to just getting to the end, our mission here in the Temple of Mana is to get the 3 best pieces of equipment. The problem is the enemies that drop them fairly infrequently because they can also drop a particular item. Right now, we're missing 1 item from having a completely filled item inventory, so we need to find 1 of anything to make this trick work. But it's this ninja enemy that can potentially drop the first item that we are looking for, and that is the samurai armor. So I'm going to try to kill any enemies that I can in here, looking for an item drop of any kind. Doesn't matter what it is, we just need to fill up the inventory, because then whenever we kill one of those ninjas, okay, here we got a Matic, that's fine. Whenever we kill a ninja and he drops a treasure chest, we'll get a can't carry message, and we'll keep getting that message until we get the samurai armor, or we'll get it on the first try. So we didn't really need a full inventory to get it there, but normally you would. And whenever you get the samurai armor, then you can concern yourself with moving on to the next boss. The samurai armor is quite awesome, so definitely take the time to keep fighting the ninja enemies until one of them drops a treasure chest. And if you do have a full inventory of items, you'll get that message, can't carry, and you'll just keep getting that message until you finally get the samurai armor. You'll probably see it on the next item that we pick up. The other thing that these ninjas could drop is an elixir, so that's not actually bad, but we really want to get that samurai armor first. That way we'll have it to fight this first boss, the dragon. I'm going to save the game, and the weapon that we want to use against this guy is our good old Thunder Spear. Thunder Spear deals less damage than the dragon sword, but you have to hit this guy right in the face, so you have to get kinda close to the dragon to be able to hit it at all. And getting very close to it is a recipe for disaster. Whenever it's up at the top of the screen, that's your best chance for attacking it. You can get underneath the dragon and just try to rapidly attack the head. When it's coming down towards you, you want to focus on avoiding it. If it's at the bottom of the screen, focus on avoiding it. If you get stuck when it's coming towards you on the left side, you can kind of hide on the steps there, but be careful. If you accidentally go down to the room below, you'll have to start that battle over again, so don't get too close to the edge there. Once the dragon is defeated, we'll be able to move on to the next part of the Temple of Mana, and it's in this room right here that we should be able to find our next piece of equipment. A lot of weapons don't work on the fiend heads, but the dragon sword does. So what I like to do is keep killing them whenever there's 2 or more on the screen, and when there's only 1, I keep walking back and forth until they respawn. That way we'll keep going until they spawn a treasure chest, and if we have that full inventory, we'll be able to get the samurai helmet, which is the best helmet in the game, and we haven't had a helmet upgrade for a long time. Here it is, okay. Can't carry, found samurai helmet. Aw yeah. So now we'll go into our inventory and equip it. We want to make sure that we have space in our inventory to get the last item though, so I'm going to throw away the opal helmet. Looks like there was space anyway. But let's just get it out of there. We don't want to not be able to get the Aegis shield later, because that's the most important piece of the 3 pieces of equipment. Now whenever we kill ninjas, we kind of hope that they drop the elixir, so we can clear up a bit of inventory space if you see a treasure chest whenever you kill a ninja after getting the samurai armor. And up here, these guys drop X ether, which is not as good as an elixir, but we'll pick that up anyway. From here, we're going to head straight across to the left. If you're following the map on the left side of the screen, you want to follow the blue letters. If you find yourself on the path of the red numbers, try to find your way back to a letter, and that will get you back on track. So we're going to go through this portal, just walk right into it, and it'll take you into one of these outside areas that all look pretty much the same, and just walk across it, and that will bring us down to this room where we need to break through the wall on the left side. Once we get in here, we just want to keep working our way left and down until we get to the next portal. So we'll go left across here, and we'll go down through here. The Morning Star will not work on that fiend head, so if you want to be able to kill him, switch over to your dragon sword, and we gave him a taste of the full power there. Wasn't enough to kill him in a single shot though. And then we're going to head to the left here, and that's the next portal. This portal is going to take us over to letter B. And from here it's fairly straightforward. We just want to go around and down. Watch out for the ninjas. Go down here, and this is another puzzle room. And once again, we're going to be using our ice magic. Huh, what's new there? So equip the ice magic, and we can shoot it through that orb, and you need to guide it around and make it hit the one that's on top of the switch. You may need to hit the other one too, just to get it out of the way. You can shoot the ice through a snowman, so keep that in mind. And when we get here, we have to fight another dragon. This one is the red dragon, although it looks the same as the previous one. So we're going to deal with it the same way. We're going to use our Thunder Spear, and I'm trying to keep a full inventory here. That's why I'm using just one X cure here and there, because we do still have to get that Aegis shield after we defeat this dragon. But for now, we want to attack this guy just the same way that we fought the previous one. So when he's at the bottom, if you can get some hits in, I mean great, but you mostly want to take advantage of attacking this guy when he is at the top of the screen. This guy spits out fireballs at regular intervals, so you can try to step out of the way of those, but you'll notice that with the samurai armor and the samurai helmet, we just don't take a lot of damage from the fireballs if we don't block them anyway with our shield. So the real danger is just coming into contact with the dragon itself, and as long as we don't do that, we're going to be in very good shape. You can see when we get hit by the fireballs, it's like, what, 1 damage? Not a whole lot to worry about taking 1 damage shots. It's the bigger chunks that were more concerning. So yeah, we took 1 damage there when we got hit by the fireball. With the equipment we have, the red dragon is really pretty easy, and we'll be able to go through the portal, and that will take us to the third part of the Temple of Mana. If you've been following the pattern, you would probably expect us to find the third piece of equipment here in the third part of the Temple of Mana, but no. The Aegis shield we're not going to find until the fourth and final part. We just need to get through this area, so we're in the dark right now, but we're going to head to the right, and we're going to head through this door at the top of the screen. And we leveled up pretty good. So we'll take maybe another level of wisdom here. Yeah, another level of wisdom might be good so we can cure ourselves more effectively. And we'll go through Portal C, and that will bring us to the next map. From here we just need to go down 1 room, over 1 room to the right, and then down again. And that'll take us to another portal. If you have your dragon sword on, you can use it to take out these fiend heads, or just try to get around them and pop into that portal. Of course, it takes us outside for a moment first, so we'll just pass through this area, and when we come out the other side, we're going to be down at the bottom of the map in the lower left corner, And we just need to make our way all the way to the right here. So we're going to go to the right, we need to equip a key. I'm going to keep that single key there just so that we keep a full inventory. If we find a better item, of course, we can throw it away. And we'll head over, okay, here it is. We'll throw away that single key. And then we can pick up an X ether here. And we'll head over to the right. Just keep going to the right. Once we get all the way to the far right, there's going to be another puzzle room. So you'll know it when you see it. Here it is. Of course, we're going to use our ice magic again. And this time we need to freeze this guy onto a specific tile. And it's the one that's one up from the bottom, well, I guess 2 up from the bottom left. So just push the snowman onto there and it will open the door. And we're going to go straight up to the top where we'll find another stairway, and that's going to take us to another dragon boss, but this one's not the same as the others, if the stairway will cooperate. And here we are, we're going to equip our cure magic as well as the flame flail this time, because this is the dragon zombie. You'll notice that the dragon zombie is very similar to the Hydra enemy that we fought much earlier in the game, but it's not constrained by a small body of water. This thing will go all the way across to the left. It just keeps moving up and down the right side, as many bosses in this game do. Whenever it gets out to the left side, it'll launch some fireballs. It launches them at your position whenever it spits them out, so as long as you keep moving, it's not that hard to avoid the fireballs. Don't stand to the left of the boss. So just like when we fought Kary, whenever the boss comes out, we're going to attack it from above or below, and we're just going to stay out of its general path of attack, and whenever it launches those fireballs, we just need to step out of the way, and most of the time we should be able to get out of the way of them. If you do start to get low on health, you can use your cure magic, but you don't want to use it when you need to be blocking with a shield, or when you need to be running away from the fireballs. Try to find a good spot to cast it, but most of the time if you're doing it right, you probably won't need it at all. And once the dragon zombie is defeated, we'll be able to move on to the 4th and final part of the Temple of Mana, and this is where we're going to find that Aegis shield. You may remember this area, this is where we were able to warp to whenever we did that trick back in part 1. We can try to fight these elephants and use the sleep magic to make it so that they can't move. If we have a full inventory and they drop a treasure chest, we'll find the Aegis shield, but it's nice to have the Excalibur first, so let's go all the way up to the top and get that, and then we can worry about farming elephants. Now, in the previous episode, when we took the shortcut to get here, you were able to go backwards after you get the Excalibur, but this time we won't be able to do that. Instead, we're going to need to go up, and we'll find another area where elephants spawn, and we can farm them up there to try to get the Aegis shield. But there won't be 2 screens of them right next to each other, so it's a little bit faster to do it in the lower area, but we don't need to level up as much here. So here's one screen that has 2 elephants on it. No Aegis shield. I personally like to try to farm the ones on this screen over to the left, so I wait until there's 2 elephants, and then I just kill one of them. And then we'll go back and forth until there's 2 elephants again, and just keep doing that until one of them drops a chest, and there it is. And we'll keep getting that can't carry message until we get the Aegis shield, and the Aegis shield is awesome. It can block the nuke attacks that the final boss does, which will make fighting him a whole lot easier. So once you have it, and you're ready to go, you can head over here. Once you go up those stairs, that's going to bring us to the final boss. So you may want to heal up down here and save the game. Once you get up to the final boss, if you save after you get into the fight with him, you will not be able to go back and level up more. I recommend having at least level 30. We have a lot better equipment than I did the first time I came to this guy back when we did the shortcut route. So with the levels and equipment we have here, he's going to be a lot easier. There it is, the Tree of Mana. And it's Ray. Ray, are you still mesmerized or whatever? It seems that we're too late. Julius already got the greatest power of mana. Yeah, but we have the Excalibur now, so it's not really the time for Neo Empire or anything. It's time for a Julius beatdown. He says, "I do not need you anymore, Kylo," as if he was keeping us around or something. And then the battle begins. Make sure you have your Excalibur equipped, and there's 3 Julius here, so you just want to try to walk around so that you avoid the nukes that he throws, and then try to pin one of the bosses against a side or in a corner, and then just keep pummeling him with the Excalibur. If you have pretty good will score, you may want to try to fill that up and use your flying sword attack, which does double damage, and the first boss will go down pretty easily. But now it's time to see the true power of mana. I think this is the most difficult of Julius's 3 forms. You may want to save the game when you get in here, but don't save if you have very low health. Make sure to heal first. And the strategy for fighting this guy is that he floats around at the top of the screen, and occasionally he'll swoop down and attack. Sometimes he'll also let out these like electrical bolts. I like to hang out in the corner at the bottom of the screen. That means he's going to have to float towards us, and we'll have plenty of opportunity to get away from him before he'll be able to swoop down and attack. So you're going to see him coming when you're in the corner. So you want to focus on trying to not touch the boss. So whenever he floats your way, you're going to start running to the right or the left to get out of the way of that, and only attack him whenever he swoops down. Certainly you can attack him when he's at the top of the screen, but if he starts swooping at you when you're attacking that way, you're going to take a ton of damage. If you only attack him from the side when he's swooping down, you're going to be able to deal him a lot of damage without him having the opportunity to damage you. If you face upward, you can block those electrical bolts, so sometimes when you're trying to pass under him, you may need to just turn and face upward real quick to block an electrical bolt. Those can deal you a good bit of damage, but as long as you focus on only attacking Big Julius whenever he comes down to attack you, you should be able to avoid him most of the time, and you can beat him even with pretty low levels this way. We have very good equipment, so even if you do take a few hits, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. If you were playing through using the shortcut route, you would still have Ray to help you here, so you can always use the Ask ability for her to cure you. Something you need to be aware of, if you need to cure against this guy, you want to do it when you're in the corner and the boss is pretty far away from you, so make sure to pick your spots when to cure. Julius lets out a loud grr as the screen fades to black. Could it be over? Not by a long shot. There's still one more form of the boss, and we're going to fight him right here in front of the tree. Here we go. Don't forget that you can save the game as this battle begins, and we also have the ability to use the Ask command because we have Ray back on our team. So this is pretty good. Julius seems to appear in a random pattern here, but he actually does the same pattern every time. And there's a lot of positions, but if you can memorize the first few, that will really help. One thing that will help you to remember is that Julius never appears in the exact same place 2 times in a row. So if you go to the spot where he was the previous time, you can be pretty confident he's not going to pop up there. You want to wait for him to raise the hands and then get in there and start attacking him. You'll be able to block the nukes if you're not swinging your sword or curing whenever they come towards you. Many of the positions that Julius chooses will bring him down towards the bottom of the screen, so you can sort of line up with the bottom edge, and that will help you walk under his hands and get into a good position to just start whacking him with your Excalibur. He should appear towards the middle here. We'll go up, just give him a few beats on the face. And it really doesn't take too much to beat this guy, although if you do come into contact with the hands or the boss itself, you will take quite a bit of damage. So don't forget that you have Ray there to heal you, and you may want to use a few of your own cures or even an elixir. This is the final battle in the game. There's no reason to save elixirs or anything beyond this. We will not need a full inventory after this so that we can get some kind of more ultimate weapon. This is it. Alright, just a few more hits, and that's it. Julius has been defeated. We've done it. We've beaten Final Fantasy Adventure. All we can do now is sit back, relax, and enjoy the cheesy ending. The mana tree disappeared, but we know that the mana tree exists in later games, so what's going to happen here? Ray, my dear. Is it? Yep, it's Ray's mother, or at least her ghost anyway. It seems that she was the mana tree, and now that the tree is lost, we need a new one. And I bet you can guess who that's going to be. Yep, that's right. Ray is the seed of the mana tree, or at least the people of her family are. And considering that she is the last of her line, she is the last mana tree that can ever be born. Or at least that makes sense as far as people turning into trees is concerned, but my understanding of plants is that they can actually spawn by making seeds. So maybe there's another way that the tree can repopulate itself in the future? But for now, it seems like this will be the last mana tree ever. To be completely honest with you, the thought of turning into a tree that will be stuck in one spot for the next several millenniums sounds like a fate much worse than death. But hey, you know, nobody can decide but you, Ray. I wonder what she's going to do. I will, Mom. I will be the new tree of mana. Well, there you go. I guess she made the choice that everybody knew she would make. It's a sad moment, but it's also a rebirth. Without the tree, who knows what kind of bad stuff would happen in this world. That would be the end of the peace that exists, although it doesn't seem like the world was particularly peaceful before when everybody was fighting over the mana tree, so maybe making a new tree isn't the best idea. But oh well, I guess we'll just have to guard her from evil, because that's just what Gemma Knights do. At this point, Ray's mother implores us to guard her daughter, and then says that we are the only Gemma Knight for the tree now. So what happened to Bogard? When did he die? I totally missed that. He seemed like he was a little bit messed up, but I thought he was going to pull through. Please tell my Gemma Knights that I said goodbye and thanks to them. Well, you said I was the only one, so you can just say it to my face, Ray's mom. And do you have a name, by the way, or should we just keep calling you Ray's mom? Kylo. Now is the time. As they stand next to each other, she says goodbye. Ray, goodbye. Fade to black. And now a moment of silence for all the NPCs that we lost along the way. Willie, Hasim, Amanda, Marcy, and Ray. As the game wraps up, its final message is one of hope. Gemma, the guardian of the peaceful land. I think in that case they're referring to the mana tree itself. The new Gemma must not be lost ever after. We all must keep it forever. And who is there to keep it forever? Well, of course, Kylo, the one and only Gemma Knight now. Big time shade on Bogard. Roll the credits. My final thoughts on this game are just that it is extremely impressive for such an early Game Boy title. I was showing this game to a friend, and he stopped me at one point and said, "Wait a minute, this is Game Boy? And I was like, yeah, not only is this Game Boy, this is a very early Game Boy game, one that came out 2 years before Link's Awakening. And I'm not saying that this game is as good as Link's Awakening. Link's Awakening has a very amazing story that it tells in such a simple way, but it has a great emotional resonance to it. But this game is massive, and the story is maybe the second or third best one on the system. There are a lot of games on the Game Boy that feel pretty satisfied to just give you 4 or 5 levels, and this game is just ridiculous how big it is. It puts a lot of those other games to shame. I would have loved to have seen the 5-disc Famicom Disk System game that they were planning way before this one ever became a possibility. I really wonder what that would have been. I think that would have been something really, really cool. And although maybe it was ridiculous for them to even think about putting something out on 5 discs, if they would have found a way to condense that into a cartridge so that it could be released in North America or Europe, I think it could have been a big hit. So it's sad that that one never got done. Something that I was thinking about as I played the game this time is the will stat. I don't recommend putting points into it because it gets built up anyway when you put points into other things that are more important. But what if it didn't work that way? What if the only way to increase will was to put points directly into it? Then what would you do? I have trouble deciding how many points I would want to allocate to will, but I don't think that the answer is 0. Will is valuable on some level. On the very last scene, we see that our good friend the Chocobot has found himself a girlfriend. So it seems that she doesn't mind that he has metal legs. She might even like it. And with that, the game ends. Well, I hope this video was able to help you finally beat Final Fantasy Adventure and return peace to the world of mana. If it did, make sure to give it a like and make sure to subscribe for more videos, because there will always be more evil dictators trying to take power from magical trees, and that's why we'll be back again next week with another video game you can beat. Thanks for watching.